EOS Go presents EOS Radio, your first source for everything about the new blockchain Internet of Value. You'll hear from key contributors to EOS, including interviews with Block.one, dApp development teams, and block producers. You'll get community updates and answers to common questions, meetup information, opportunities to get involved in EOS, and much more. We're live every Monday at 6 p.m. EST, and now it's time for your hosts, Kev and Bluejays, in 3, 2, 1.
Yo, welcome everybody to episode number 13. I hope everything goes well today with this episode number 13. I think we still have good luck either way. So hey Kev, how you doing? How was your weekend?
Hey man, it was good. Yeah, I was over in South Korea and had a great time. It's been a wonderful weekend, so we can talk more about that later. But yeah, good weekend. How about you, Blue Jays?
Yeah, mine was a good weekend spent with the family, and obviously, yeah, stuff's building up with EOS, so trying to get things going. A couple of those initiatives I think people know about in the background ongoing, so we can talk about that later as well too. But so the agenda today, we have first up is G with the Tulip conference. He's going to come out here and basically talk about the conference, which is turning out to be quite a EOS-centered conference. It's a larger, I guess, blockchain emerging technologies conference, but there's going to be quite a bit of EOS contingent there. Then we'll have EOSVibes come on, and then EOS.CYBEX, two awesome block producer candidates, and we look forward to having them as well too. Then we'll have a BP discussion panel. I think this is our final one, or maybe we'll do another one. We'll see how things lead up to launch. But I think this is the only one that we have scheduled. I'll have to check with Top K-pop. But we also have news and meetups after that. So Kev, if you got any more updates, that's fine. But if you got a chance, please ping G and let him know the link to come on in.
Yeah, we have a good show today. I think it is probably the final BP panel. Okay. Just go over the security for launch and everything else. And of course, we have Thomas coming on as well to help with the BP panel. But we're going to meet folks from all around the world again this week, so it should be pretty good. Let's get G on here, huh? Let's see. Yeah, for the launch. So we have an announcement coming up too. EOS Go. Should be more coming out tomorrow about what we're doing for the launch party, and it will be an international community party for folks. You'll hear more about that, of course. And yeah, there he is. There's G.
How's it going, guys?
Hey, good. G. How are you doing?
Doing wonderful. How you guys doing?
Good. Yeah, it's great to meet you. And you have a huge conference coming up here in about 2 weeks, 3 weeks ish.
Yeah. 17 days for the talk.
17 days, 2.5 weeks.
Excellent.
So looking to learn more about you. You're based out of San Francisco, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's your background? How'd you get involved in blockchain? What inspired you to do the Tulip conference?
Well, I've been in the Valley for over 10 years. I'm an engineer by trade. I've been a project/product manager, and I've done a lot of work in mobile payments, starting all the way in 2007, and my paths crossed with Bitcoin at that point in time, at that juncture. But really don't want to go back to sort of when I started in Bitcoin. But the reality was that my work, my profession was all around making payments, making multiple forms of payments available for people. But I understood a lot of the nuances, and cryptocurrencies were an amazing way that removed most of those barriers, with very, very, very minimal people involved in the middle. So I kind of started the path, started doing a few meetups locally in San Francisco, mostly around technology, product, about, we're one of the very few, meetups that focus. We're not a maximalist on any particular blockchain. We invited almost everybody from across the community, from the Bitcoin community, Ethereum community, and we're actually called SF Blockchain Collective. We have about 3,500 members right now. So we've always focused on technology, product development, and providing technical education for people. And we focused on like giving blockchain education to people who are on the periphery or not in the bubble. So that's always been our focus, providing that, because I feel like the crypto community is kind of a bubble, and we seldom, it's hard for people, the outsiders, to new people to come in. So our focus has always been providing a segue for the newer, maybe developers, technologists, product managers, investors, whoever it may be. My job has always been to provide them an opportunity to enter our community, right? And as a product guy, I'm pretty good at, one thing is to extract complex ideas into a format that can help people understand this technology better, because end of the day, blockchain still have a serious adoption problem. So, people are, I would say, I don't want to toot my own horn being in Silicon Valley. We do have the right climate, right? I mean, I don't want to, as I said, I don't want to come across as a Valley guy, but the reality is that, we have a 4 million population, highly skilled labor. Our economy, California's economy, is larger than the GDP of India. Mm-hmm. So you have a combination of like highly skilled people, large economic GDP growth, and a test bed. If you look at like projects like Craigslist, or we just started in the early end, they're still around. I mean, it's still the largest listing service, widely used listing services. So
Uber, let's not forget Uber.
Yeah, Uber definitely is a recent phenomenon, right? Since the smartphone revolution. So long story short is that I'm trying to create an environment for people in the space to come and use Silicon Valley as a test bed, focus on adoption. And I actually also run SFEOS, the EOS community, and help newer people enter this marketplace. Because, I know we all like to, a lot of us in the community, we definitely we have knowledge and we're proud about that. But seldom we forget that the people outside are eager to learn, and we don't share it, or we don't provide that knowledge in a consumable form. And my goal is, I would say I'm a big proponent of EOS. I've followed Dan's work for a while now, and if you notice that Dan is always like focused on use cases like BitShares and Steemit. It was a use case focused blockchain, versus people are doing the reverse. They're building the blockchain thinking the use case will follow. As a product guy, I understand that, right? I understand like there's a purpose to building everything. And that's what our conference is to identify that purpose. And EOS is that going to be that blockchain, that variant that's going to differ from almost any others out there, because it's already has a bit of trajectory, and it's and I'm actually, my goal is to actually invite developers, block producers, who is trying to flourish within this ecosystem, to come to San Francisco. We're not I don't want to advertise as a 5,000 person conference. We want to be personable.
Yeah.
I've catered to be very personable, so you can build a relationship with people. That could be investors. It could be, if you were looking to build a team, or if you're trying to, kind of expand your technology footprint to enterprises. We have a bit for everybody, And personally, I've put my 10 years of product experience into this, to develop this conference, because one thing when you're designing products, you have two responsibilities. You have to first educate your user and actually make them adopt your product. It's two different curves that you have to make them go through. So education is key. If you, very simple as that, if you put a door and if you don't put a handle on it, you don't know what to do with the door, right? You don't know what to push or pull. It's a very simple thing, but that's what product design is all about. And it's like, blockchains are like, I would say EOS is comparatively like a rocket engine, right? But if I give you a rocket engine, you really don't know what to do with it, unless until I know what, you know what I'm saying? Unless until the engine could be put in a format that's consumable, whether it could be a sports car or really a rocket, depends on what you want to. So my job has always been focused on adoption and usability, mm-hmm. and building an ecosystem for developers, for new business leaders, entrepreneurs to come in and kind of build teams, and I've noticed that a lot of the EOS people in the EOS ecosystem are building dApps like Scatter and other projects that are focused on adoption and focused on creating new revenue models and not really ICO focus, which gives me a breath of fresh air compared to the other projects that I've seen. They're focused on the ICO first and forget the use case.
Yeah.
So as I said, I always tell my friends, like, do you have talks about ICO? I said we're ICO friendly, but we're not ICO focused. So my job, that's what we want to do at Tulip. We want to help educate people, want to provide right environment for people. And also it's the week of Tulip is also the Apple Developer Conference, the EOS Summit. You're going to have about 100 to 200,000 devs coming to the Bay Area. It's a perfect place for you to come and pitch your project and find a team. I mean, you could be a team, you could be a one-man or a one-woman army. You could come here and just, you can ping me. I'm pretty approachable. You can actually come to the conference and pull me aside and say, hey, G, can you make me some intros? And I swear to God, I'll do it. That's how I am, because I've run meetups for years. I know how to build grassroots groups. And so it's all about meetups for me are great because I can have that one-on-one with people. I can understand them. I can tune my content for them. It's a great experience for me. So Tulip came out of Blockchain Collective, all the experience, a couple of years, 2-3 years that we ran the collective, we understood what people wanted. It just comes out of data, right? Like experience of what people really want,
I think this is a breath of fresh air because I don't think blockchain and usability sort of go hand in hand at the current time. What do you see that are the biggest improvements that need to be made?
I think we have to clearly define our use cases. What can blockchains do, right? I mean, can we build a very simple? It could be one single feature, right? It could be a listing app that could be widely used like Craigslist, a simple listing app like that is probably censor resistant. That is not, that can be shut off. It has simple rules and simple frameworks. It's community driven. I keep pointing to Craigslist because Craigslist is more of a community driven solution. Of course, you can compare it with Uber or other modern large scale applications, but they are not. I would say they have their pitfalls, but at least in the blockchain, it's a distributed framework. Most are open source projects. It's community driven. You can create these new economic models by tokenizing them. There's participation. Everybody's got a stake in the game. So these are new models, right? People don't understand these models. So I think the first wave is to teach people the use case, putting the product in their hands. Second is to understand how this economic model works, how tokenization works, why holding an asset is valuable now or in the future, right? Why is this magic internet money valuable at any point in time, right? People really don't understand tangibility, usability, and and value, intrinsic value. Those are all you need to teach people. So it's a slow process. It's not easy. So I think the first step we've taken is to kind of constantly educate people, and not saying throw everything on the blockchain kind of an idea, is to tell people, literally have the conversation, what use cases can we really solve? What's the simplest use case? If I were to have a session, we used to have these sessions when we were building products, we call express prototyping or extreme prototyping, where we basically constantly prototype simple use cases. Because if you look at your phone, you probably use maybe 4 to 5 apps. Functionality wise, you might have hundreds, you probably use 4 or 5 on a daily basis. Functionality wise in an app, you might not use more than 1 or 2 features. So literally, people are building amazing projects, but Earth to Mars, right? So it's kind of you have to break that ground zero. You want to put a usable product in people's hands that they could use. And in fact, it's pretty interesting. If you look at most of the internet services that built from the 90s, right? They had this virality factor, mainly in Silicon Valley, which you don't get it anywhere. I don't know if haven't seen it. is that the virality factor. For example, I don't know if you remember Vine. Vine was super popular when it was the short videos. Of course, it got cannibalized by Instagram and other people, but you have these short trends. You can create those short viral adoption curves, and like Silicon Valley is perfect for that. So my job has always been helping entrepreneurs put products, usable products, in people's hands so that people can use it. End of the day, it doesn't matter whether it's centralized or decentralized for the user, right? The user doesn't really care about whether, the user, they have something that they can use. It's a utility or a tool that they can handle and use. So for the user, what's behind the scenes is kind of less important, at least for the user. Again, with blockchains, you get a lot of the thing about privacy, censor resistant. It's new, like EOS has got better governance. It's community driven. There's no central authority making decisions for you whether your ad's going to be placed or not. So there are a ton of benefits for the user, but unfortunately, what's coming down the pipe is not really consumable, right? The information is too complex, and that's what we're trying to declutter the space a bit, and our conference is focused on giving people a process to come in, learn, and understand. I mean, if you look at our conference agenda, we have an amazing segment run by Steve Floyd from EOS Tribe, and he's a big proponent of design, and he's worked with me closely to have a design and adoption segment so that we can teach people how to build products on top of like blockchains like EOS, right? So we want to have a piece for everybody. We want to have how product people can come in, like that are non-engineers, who can come in and write use cases and build user stories. So that's what you need a team. A lot of times people forget that you need a team when you're a young startup. Your team is a combination of people who are highly skilled in technology and product design and marketing, and so it's a combination. So you need all those people to learn this technology. So you can be just you can't just have one piece of pie and expect things to happen. I think our goal is to provide education across the board for everybody, our dream is that we're able to launch new blockchains on Tulip's platform every year. There are over 100 public blockchains out there. We want to provide a platform for everybody. Blockchains, and at least the crypto community is very loyal, very tribal. They prefer their tokens. They're loyal to their brand, to their project. But I think we want to have like a civil discord. We want to have people come in and weigh in their ideas. And it's, of course, good criticism is always good. That's what makes anything better. So I would say, come to our conference, learn about the next wave of technology in the space, educate yourself. Don't get into the FOMO a lot. Go for the substance. That's our focus. We want to give you substance. We want to give you value for the dollar you're spending with us. And every dollar you spend with us is a value proposition. So that's our goal. That's our mission.
It sounds like you guys are very self-aware. Even the name of the conference, you given it something, and you can explain it too. I know we talked about this before.
Yeah. So people kind of constantly keep comparing, the blockchain space, the decentralization movement as a mania. So they keep comparing with the Tulip mania. Some guy, I don't know exactly what his name is, did some research and really found out that it was not as bad as people thought. Was that it was this person who actually was a writer who kind of over exaggerated the whole situation. But in our concern, you have the railroad bubble, you have the internet bubble, you have the mortgage bubble. Bubbles are good. It depends on where you are on the bubble. Are you in the center of the bubble or are you in the periphery of the bubble? If you're in the center of the bubble, you're going to benefit as long as the bubble is going to last. A smart person would try to ride, bubble might be bubble has become like a bad analogy. It's like surfing. I've never surfed, but it's a good analogy. I think it can relate to a lot of people. It's that you surf, you wait for the tide, you wait for the wave, and you ride it, right? That's technology, man. I've lived in Silicon Valley for over a decade. I've known people that have built technology and ridden the wave, and this is the next wave, and this, if you're early on, if you're an early adopter, I mean, actually, even in digital marketing, I've learned that they've segmented people as early adopters, skeptics, kind of late adopters. So they're different segmentation. So we're kind of trying to build the early adopters curve. That's really who our segment is. We want to attract people that are interested in cutting edge tech. They want to learn more. And unfortunately, the blockchain space is going light years. It's going at light speed, right? I mean, like people are talking about, building countries on top of blockchains and stuff like that. So we want to take a step back. As I said, Earth to Mars. We want to take a step back. We want to teach people. We want to teach this new technology like EOS is coming out. And really, I mean, I know everybody's focused on very important things like being a BP. Very important to stand up the network. A lot of great work's going on. Some people are building amazing dApps. So my job, what I thought was that, like, how can I contribute something of value to the community? I thought is that if I could provide a segue after the launch for people, a runway, right? Everyone's after the mainnet launch. What's the runway? That's what Tulip said. It's a runway for you to launch anything that you have on EOS. And we've got the perfect combination of people. I don't want to call it a secret sauce. It's that we have enterprise leaders, we have great investors, both from the institutional investment community, the crypto investment community. We have nestled our conference right on Developer Week with hundreds and probably 200,000-300,000 people coming in. So we're doing a lot of marketing and promotion to let people know this next wave of technology. You should, very simply, you should ride it. You should ride the wave. So I'm just more to analogy the surfers out there, but you should come in and talk about your project, promote your project. In fact, we're going to be doing some interesting airdrops, surprise airdrops for patrons.
There's that word again, Kevin.
Oh boy, airdrop.
Nothing, full disclosure, we're not promoting any particular ICO. These airdrops are completely focused on engaging the community, so that projects that I mean, I think, like, if you look at EOS, it's got about 250,000 members worldwide or something like that, somewhere in the ballpark. That's community engagement. It's huge. People, this is a little bit of a different ball game than building like a startup in the Valley, right? If you would come here, you would build an app or a web app, or whatever it is, and then you will go raise some VC money, and then that money burns until like 5 to 10 years adoption curve, and then you could either become Facebook, Google, or you become like the next Vine, right? So you can go either way. But in the blockchain space, it's a little interesting and exciting. People understand is that the community is just so loyal. They will hold on to it, and that's juice, man. It really, I've noticed that because I've been running meetups, is that it's the open source projects. One aspect is the community really is what is going to loyal and use your product and promote your product. I mean, they are basically your brand warriors, if you were to call it. So we're all about helping you engage the community. We'll find providing you interesting new tools to engage the community, find a test bed to deploy your app or dApp, and we'll help people. We'll put your products. We'll try to help you put your products in the hands of people so they can use it, and that's our goal, is to get your projects in front of key people, and help push the ecosystem forward. And the runway is what I've been building for over a year now. So
it's something I'm very curious about what Silicon Valley has planned for blockchain, because it seems like they've been very quiet throughout a lot of this. And I know Brendan Bloomer a while back, he talked about how a lot of the best devs were on the sidelines for blockchain because there was nothing to build on yet. So I'm very curious about this conference in terms of finding out who is going to announce, what companies are out there working on EOS. Do you have any surprises that you can sort of give to us now, or that we can start learning about?
Well, of course, we've invited Scatter, Creditify is a company, based in Hong Kong. They're building a reputation protocol. So we have definitely we have a couple of those companies coming in. I don't have a full list yet. We're still doing outreach, but I can definitely maybe publish a list for you guys to share of the companies that will be in attendance.
Yeah. Your website, of course, is beautiful.
Thank you.
Up in the chat there.
Keep updating the agenda. So, our agenda is always one thing. One thing I wanted to say was that we keep our agenda kind of fresh. So we want to be very careful about who we bring in, because, full disclosure, 70% of our content is unsponsored. We provide a platform for anybody, as long as you have a legit product. If you can, we like basically 30% is where we get sponsor dollars to support the conference, right? Our goal is to like build this platform that it could benefit everybody, right? If you've raised money, if you want to, I think our goal is to help the ecosystem for people that are yet to raise money. So we've made sure that it's not cost prohibitive. So we constantly add people. Some people come to us and say like, hey man, we haven't raised any dollars yet, but we have an amazing project which we would like to present. I would be like, send me your presso, send me a slide, let's review it. We'll see if we can get you in or not. So that's just been our process. So it's a little slow, but you'll see a lot more additions by end of the week.
Excellent. And there was one of the headline speakers, the first speaker that you had there, had some kind of Nobel Prize. What was your choice, your reasoning behind having him speak?
Well, Professor Yunus is a microfinance, microlending. He's a father of microfinance and microlending. One of the biggest use case people have been hammering is, micropayments, lending, and it's never really taken off. And I think even though Professor Yunus is not a cryptocurrency guy, but he understands microeconomics, right? I think our job has always been is to understand the core concepts really, really well. For example, if you're building a lending app that uses cryptocurrencies as a second layer liquidity network, and you want to deploy it to an audience all over the world, mainly in poor countries or developing countries, those markets are very different. They don't have infrastructure like credit lines and like payment networks. It's very different. I mean, that's why Professor Yunus got a Nobel Prize, because he was able to provide liquidity in countries, in poor countries, there's less access of capital. I mean, today you can go in a first world country like the US and the United States, you can go apply for a loan, or you can get a credit, or you can get like a payday loan or something else. So you have access to money in a format that's people could it's easy access for people. It's not the same case. And I think this is a big problem, right? I'm South Indian. I grew up in India, and I understand India's got 1.6 billion people, Asian countries are very different, right? Some of them lack infrastructure, but there's still people. You can still put your application, your product in the hands of them if you're building some kind of a micro lending app, a micro lending app on the blockchain. But you need to understand the economic. You need to understand microfinance. You need to understand how that works. Going to niche markets and understanding new economic models is what Professor Yunus is really good at, and he offered to kind of come and help to showcase some of these why he's taking it as life's mission. And some of the
well thought out, and I think we're looking forward to being there, Kevin and I, and just the way you explained it, I think it's like I said, a well thought out conference, and it's something that EOS and the blockchain is going to need in general. So we wanted to thank you, G, for coming on and explaining. We have shared your the link to the conference website on the chat, and we'll share it again for anybody.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks, G. We'll see you in about 2.5 weeks.
Yeah. Pleasure. Looking forward to it.
See ya.
Cheers.
Bye.
Well, Kevin, what do you think about the Silicon Valley over there?
I'm very curious. Like I was asking him, I'm wondering. I want to see more from Silicon Valley. Really, I think I see a lot of action in Asia right now when it comes to blockchain. They take it very seriously, and there's a lot of investment and interest and passion. And I'm hoping Silicon Valley has some surprises for us up their sleeves. So that's mainly what I'm excited about. And also, of course, meeting all the other EOS folks will be amazing as well. I can't beat that.
Oh, so this is Daniel Beer and Daniel Dunn of EOSVibes. Welcome, guys. I believe we also have Kyle coming on soon.
Yeah, that's it.
How you doing, Bluejays and Kev?
Hey, guys. Yeah, doing well. Good to meet you. Dan and Dan, huh?
Yeah. Thank you. Likewise.
That's awesome. Yeah. Where are you guys based out of?
We're based in Dublin at the moment.
Awesome. Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, so we're quite a diverse team. But less than half of us are based here in Ireland.
Yeah, distributed all around the world, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's good if we do get elected, the more geographically dispersed, the better.
Sure, makes sense. Yeah.
Hey, Kyle.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Doing
Good,
well.
Kyle. Yeah, great to meet you. We've all seen your face and heard your voice before. Thank you for coming on. Yeah. So,
Hey Dan, hey Dan.
Hey, Kev.
All right, Carl.
Or as they're called in the chat, double D's.
We get that a lot.
Okay.
We've been called worse as well, so we'll take that.
I was trying to keep it PG.
Bluejays, have you seen their humongous plant in the background? That's a great plant.
Oh yeah, I'm totally jealous about that plant.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, we kind of we know you kind of really dig the plant, so we said we.
Nice.
My plant died. I forgot to water it. I could never get my plant.
We'll buy you one and send you it.
Thank you. It would just die again. I mean, I'm clearly not as good at growing plants as you are. So
It's the Guinness we feed it.
Oh.
These guys have watched our show. I can tell. Yeah, we're looking forward to going over there having a Guinness with you guys. Definitely.
Awesome.
Kyle, where are you based out of?
I'm based out of the UK. Those guys are in Dublin.
Cool. Yeah. And you probably know our show format as well. We always do who are you guys? Where are you from? What are your backgrounds? And where are you going with EOS Vibes and so on? So, yeah, let's hear more about you guys. Where are you guys from and what are your backgrounds?
Cool. Yeah, I'm Dan, as we said, from Ireland. And I'm a product designer. So I've worked with product teams here in Dublin as well as in San Francisco. And when I was over there, I worked with CircleCI, a continuous integration product. So I guess if you know Jenkins, you probably know CircleCI. So that was a good experience working with the developer community, learning how to create good developer experiences, and basically kind of learning how to reduce the barrier to our product. So when I came home from there, I met up with Dan and they're kind of got more into blockchain and more into the DApp that we're working on, EOSVibes. He gave me some wings and wave tokens, I think it was, to get me started. And that kind of just sent me down the rabbit hole and I haven't really come back up since. But yeah, later on I worked with Polkadot, the blockchain project, which connects private chains, and that's set up by some of the folks behind Ethereum. Okay. So that was also a good experience. Now we're working on EOSVibes, and I guess I'm really focused on EOSVibes, especially designing EOSVibes and the design system that we have. And I think this will kind of help us kind of in terms of like usability and good design that we want to bring to EOS with EOSVibes. And we think kind of EOS kind of needs good design, good usability to get that mass adoption that it deserves. So yeah, that's me. I guess sometimes I like to think of myself as a young Steve Floyd from EOS Tribe, a designer in this technical kind of blockchain space, trying to make it more usable, accessible, and hopefully more simple.
That's interesting. I like that. You're already calling a 40-year-old guy old, huh?
Hey, I'm 40.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, we got trouble now. Cool. And how about the other Dan?
Yeah, cheers.
Bluejay.
So my background's in technical recruiting. I have about 8 years experience recruiting engineers. I started off recruiting electrical engineers in Australia for one of the biggest recruitment agencies in the world called Michael Page International. So that was a great experience. I learned a lot in this role. My second fee in my first month as a recruiter, I earned was like for $52,000 for basically sending a CV to a job. Obviously, there was some more service added on to that, but it kind of opened my eyes like that. There was something, maybe the fees were a bit too big maybe for the value that I had given. But after a successful period there in recruiting in the Asia Pacific region, I came back to Ireland and I joined a leading Irish recruitment agency called Morgan McKinley. And here I focused on IT recruitment. I was recruiting web developers and mobile developers. I got to make some really strong relationships with some CEOs and hiring managers here in Dublin. And that proved well for later on when we wanted to test and validate the EOSVibes idea. I had a good network of people I served and worked for the last 4 years here in Dublin. I then wanted to get some experience doing some in-house recruiting. So I did some freelancing for myself, and then I had an opportunity to join Amazon Web Services as a technical recruiter. I was the first employee in AWS Europe to get payrolled in Bitcoin. That was back in 2016, so that worked out pretty well. But I was brought into the networking division, so in AWS. So I got to recruit everything from data center technicians to optical engineers to network reliability engineers, and I even got moved up to recruit on a principal level network design engineers, which are really these guys are one level below Jeff Bezos in Amazon. So wow. They were really, really technical roles to be filling. And I obviously had a passion for Bitcoin and blockchain going into Amazon. So I got to learn a lot there about how networks work. And I just got to, because you have to become a bit of a specialist when you're trying to recruit and look for somebody very, very rare. So that education really helped me a lot. And when it came to recruiting, a team for EOSVibes, so I kind of declined a promotion opportunity with AWS to put all my experience and knowledge into disrupting the recruitment agency industry, because, as I said, it was always kind of in my heart there. And then when I met Dan Beer, that's when things started to really snowball from there. We've been working on the app for EOSVibes app for a year and a half, and we were going to build on Ethereum originally, and then I was a fan of Dan Larimer from before that, from reading his blogs on Steemit and stuff. And when we heard about EOS, we knew EOS was quite a bit away, because we were quite ready to start developing. But we decided to wait until EOS was going to be ready. So that was going to be another year. And we're just really happy that we did have that patience to wait. And so that's where we are now.
Thanks, Dan. Kyle? Obviously, we know you, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of people in the EOS community do know me. I've got a channel called The Awakenment. It's a pretty popular EOS-based channel, and essentially I started it from the point where I myself was learning all about EOS. And I came up with this analogy of EOS being digital real estate, which I think is really taken off. And I think a lot of people can sort of really understand EOS as a token and where the value is when they kind of view it as digital real estate. But I'm probably an EOS mega fan, and that's why I wanted to get involved in a larger capacity. I've got a business background in e-commerce, and business and tech investing. So yeah, once I came across EOS, there was literally no turning back, and I'm a massive mega fan.
Awesome. What can you guys tell us about what you're up to with Vibes, and if you're willing to expand a little bit more on Higher Vibes?
Yeah, absolutely. So Higher Vibes, the app is like a pretty simple idea. So the average recruitment agency fee in the world is between 15 and 20%. So what Higher Vibes app does is pretty simple. It just halves that cost, and then it splits it out to the participants in the hiring process, which usually are the worker, the referrer, and we also apportion a bit to qualified charities. And obviously the client, the hirer, will benefit as well because they have a much reduced fee. So yeah, the recruitment market is huge right now. It's growing year on year. I think last year recruitment agencies made revenue of like 460 billion
wow.
USD in just 1 year. Like even in Ireland alone, recruitment agencies earn in the billions. The top 3 recruitment agencies in the world, like all make revenue of 4 or 5 billion per year. So if Higher Vibes, for example, was to take even 1% of this market in 5 years' time, and so if we say distribute that through Higher Vibes model, that would be like something like 4.6 billion in like 4.6 billion, and that would be distributed like to the workers. Approximately like 1.7 of that would go to workers. Another 1.7 would go to referrers, and then I think the figure is like 586 million would go to qualified charities, and that's really like what we see huge potential impact because, for example, one charity we're working with is Wells for Zoe. They build wells in East Africa for like 250 euros. One well can guarantee clean water for life for 300 people. So, for example, if we were to build wells out of the 560 million that's been apportioned to charities, that would be like 2.3 million wells, which would like guarantee water for like 2.3 million wells. Yeah, it was like almost 700 million people. And that's just in 1 year. And this is just a scenario of how it would look. And we think that in itself would create really positive vibrations, and not just for the people, obviously, who are getting benefited, but also the worker who has found a job and earned this donation and who actually gets donated to the charity. It can have a really like positive feeling from the person donating. And then also the hirer, the company. Every company has like CSR policies, which are like corporate social responsibility. And we feel like this kind of donation feature can, benefit each employer brand massively as well. So Higher Vibes is a simple model based on incentives, and it's we've spoken to lots of companies, lots of recruiters, and the feedback has been really positive both on the hirer side and on the worker side.
So I'm familiar. I'm like being in the IT industry for over 10 years. I realized that there is quite high referral fees. Why is that? Why is it 20% or like that?
Yeah, they're ridiculous. They're absolutely massive. And when I first put the call out to be a blog producer, because I wanted to get more and more involved with EOS, once Dan explained the whole recruitment industry to me and how it can be disrupted, the model that Higher Vibes gives, you're actually giving a lot of that revenue back to the user, and that's what the blockchain and what EOS allows us to do. It kind of turns the whole business model on its head. I mean, what other recruitment company actually pays the user to be recruited? It's a phenomenally disruptive DApp.
And I guess the fees are so high as well. like 20% is the main reason is because all these centralized recruitment agencies are profit driven, and their mandate is to make as much profits as possible. And like if a recruitment agency, if a recruiter working for an agency gets somebody a job, that recruiter will get maybe 2 to 3 to 4% of that 20% fee. The rest goes to the company to pay for all the expenses, etc. So it's it's a very expensive fee. But basically, blockchain is here to provide disintermediary solutions. So I feel that like Bitcoin is for peer-to-peer transactions. So for exchanging your labor, you should be able to exchange your labor with another entity directly, and not have so much energy siphoned out. Because like I have a brother-in-law who's working for a factory in Ireland, and the agency was taking like 35% of his hourly rate, and he was doing like really hard physical work, and they were getting like a third of his hourly rate every hour for 6 months. And there's even, after like doing some more research, like there's agencies in US and Canada that even charge 50% margins. There's some agencies that even charge 100% margins. So if they get somebody a job, they could take $25 per hour and give the worker $25 per hour. And the main issue is with why all these high fees is that there's not one contractor ever knows what margin is being added to their rate. So agencies don't disclose like we're adding a 30% margin on top of your rate. And ultimately, like these high fees, they just inflate the total cost of acquisition for the company.
This is just it's not just for contract employees, but it's also for full-time employees as well. Is that?
Yes, that'd be it.
And so permanent, contract, and then freelance as well.
Wow. And you have a business model for each one?
Absolutely, yeah.
Interesting. So who benefits out of this? Obviously, the person getting hired is going to benefit by them getting more. Let's say for a typical contractor, you work for $50 an hour. Your intermediary company charges $75 to you to the client, right? So there's a $25 an hour there. How does that get redistributed?
It would be the fee. We charge EOSVibes charge like a 7.5% token amount, and 5% goes back to the worker who gets the job.
Okay.
If they apply directly, 4% will go in tokens, and 1% will be a donation that they get to give. But if that worker was referred to the job ad, if you were referred, then you split that with your friend. So you get 2%, and your referrer gets 2%.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's a really interesting model, and it kind of opens up the referral model that people have internally within their own company, open up to the wider world. So I guess kind of as a designer in the design community, I would know kind of a lot of jobs what are going around and have some really talented friends. But all I can really say is I recommend you to this job or that job. Whereas with EOSVibes, now I can actually refer them and get rewarded for that.
So you're talking about like technical recruiters who are freelancers, or any recruiters who are freelancers can use your app?
Absolutely. If you think about like sourcing for engineering roles, if this is outsourced to a recruitment agency, a centralized recruitment agency, then those agents are trained in sales and negotiation. They're not maybe technically trained on how to qualify the competencies of the engineer. So EOSVibes outsources the sourcing to the crowd. So we incentivize the public crowd to do the sourcing. So that will include like engineers are like incentivized to properly recruit and search for engineers that match jobs. And we feel between engineers and family and friends that these people usually can do a better job at matching somebody with a role versus a sales driven kind of a recruitment agent.
So will recruiters who use your service have some sort of reputation on there? Because I could start hiring for a basket weaving job and I have no clue on how to basket weave, right? So what? I only know about, for example, sysadmin stuff. So would I have a reputation in sysadmin recruiting?
If you were like a sysadmin.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, like, a freelancer using your system, how would the company that is using the labor know that me personally, my interviewee client, it should be the one that they hire?
Yeah, well, that's twofold. One, yes, they're definitely reputation based on the EOS IO software. So this is really important to for good governance and to ensure quality across our system. But yeah, I forget the second reason what I was saying. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah. Could you repeat the question? Because I have. What is it again?
So basically, I wanted to know how the economy would work so that the person who's put the job out there know that they're getting qualified candidates from a recruiter who's freelancing on your system.
Yeah, perfect. That's the thing. What EOSVibes do provides, like, the CVs to the client. At the end of the day, if a client hires somebody, that is down to the hirer's kind of prerogative and their judgment. And all we can do is provide tools to increase the quality of the shortlist that might apply to a job ad. But in terms of obviously all job seekers will have a reputation system, and obviously we'll have CVs as well. Like, so it's not going to be completely new immediately. But yeah, we can just mitigate that risk as much as possible. We will also have, like, recruitment facilitators on the platform. So if a hirer does want to engage a recruitment facilitator to do, like, the screening of a shortlist or to do reference checking, then we will have this service available for a tiny extra token amount. And this is the service that should provide this expertise to clients for very niche roles or very technical roles, so they can have a better ability to make the right hire.
Yeah, we kind of found just from talking with some hiring managers and like CEOs and kind of just other kind of like team leaders, they go to recruiters to kind of source the applicants and source the CVs. So there's now, like, two ways you could do that through EOSVibes. One through this decentralized recruiting team, as well as from the public crowd.
Very nice. Wow. And of course, you guys are running for Block Producer as well. Was that decision just to help gain more experience for EOSVibes? Can you guys talk a little bit more about your candidacy as well?
Yeah, maybe Carl, do you want to lead this?
Yeah, so obviously my reason for wanting to be a block producer is I wanted to put out, I put a shout out in one of my videos basically that I wanted to become a block producer. I wanted to become more involved in the EOS network, and the best way for me to do that was to become a block producer. So I put a shout out. I got lots of, I'm very grateful that I got lots of replies. Dan and Dan reached out. They told me about the EOSVibes app. I looked into that. It seemed like a brilliant idea to me. They've also got a great team as well. They've got Yumna, who's a cybersecurity expert, and they've got Bazit, who is a full stack developer. He's very good. He's in the forums at the moment. He's working on the BIOS boot up, and he's working on the Genesis snapshot as well. Bazit's a brilliant guy. And yeah, when I first spoke with Dan and Dan, we had a 2.5 hour conference call. It felt like half an hour. And we were talking just about EOS, where we can go with it, what we wanted to do with it. And they brought the EOSVibes app that they were originally going to launch on Ethereum. They saw the light. They wanted to develop it on EOS. And we just chatted about EOS and our visions of what we want out of EOS and where we want it to hopefully go, and the fact that we can disrupt all of these industries by taking on people like Dan who've got experience in certain sectors, and just creating dApps. I mean, that's what we essentially wanted to do. Keep creating dApps. You know, obviously we don't want to become like a cheap dApp factory or anything like this. I mean, EOSVibes is an incredibly ambitious project. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our time with EOSVibes, get that as good as we possibly can. We've recruited loads more devs to help us. There's Liam. Who else is there, Dan? There's Liam. There's Elliot.
Yeah, Elliot.
You know, these guys are joining us. They're helping us, and we want to basically build EOSVibes up to the best that it can possibly be. Release that, support it as best we can, and then once that's up and running under its own steam, because EOSVibes is going to become a DAC, so essentially we'll give birth to it and then hand it over to the community, and then hopefully they can run it. And going back to that issue with the fact that we actually do need boots on the ground, you know, there's going to be people that are required. It can't be a complete automated process. There are going to be like people who can hopefully get involved with the EOSVibes DApp and actually earn a living out of it through earning EOSVibes tokens and providing add-on services such as, you know, CV sieving and things like that. So, you know, hopefully there can be an industry built around EOSVibes where people can earn more of these EOSVibes tokens. So yeah, once EOSVibes is standing on its own 2 feet and that's been handed over to the DAC to run, and people who are interested in recruitment, they'll probably be the ones to gravitate towards that particular DApp. And then once that's up and running, hopefully we can look at other DApps and just keep creating DApps. I mean, we've got a great DApp development team, so that's hopefully where our additional strength lies for EOSVibes.
Yeah, and there's kind of 3 main areas that we are excited to potentially develop new solutions in. And those are energy, education, and property, which are similar to Dan Larimer's philosophy. And with that, we also intend to crowdsource more ideas and more great ideas from the whole community, so everybody has a chance to suggest a really valuable application to the EOS ecosystem. Just for example, in the energy sector, we are looking at like all different kinds of solutions for running our server in the future. Like for example, solar energy solutions. There's one project that can, like, say for running a server and a data center, the main problem is the heat produced. That's why lots of data centers are based in Ireland and Iceland, where it's really cold. My brother's an actual engineer. He's looking into like there's a system where you can convert heat into electricity, so very easily. So you could convert the heat off like your servers to use it to power your servers. So this is like a very eco-friendly kind of solution, and this is what we are really passionate about in both in the sectors of energy, education, and property. Just in the education sector, like there's a cool organization here in Ireland called Coder Dojo. It's a voluntary network for teaching kids how to code. And we'd love to do something similar for blockchain, how to teach kids how to code in blockchain, teach them about EOS, teach them about law and money in general. And yeah, it's we've got loads of other areas that, like, we've even got some reach outs from the community already, approaching EOSVibes that saying they'd love to potentially partner with us at some stage. So yeah, it's really exciting. We've got, like, as Kyle said, we've got a great team there to build solutions. So yeah, that's
it. Definitely sounds like you guys have a great team and some good areas where you can add some great value to the ecosystem. We wanted to say thanks for coming on, guys. Did you guys have anything that you wanted to mention before you go, where we can catch up with you, and also where we can find out more information? I believe we've also posted your links in the chat, but if there's anything on the radar, just let us know.
Yeah, we actually got a meetup in Dublin this Thursday, in a beautiful space in Huckletree. So I guess shout out to anybody in Dublin or around Ireland that wants to come chat, learn more about EOSVibes, and we're co-hosting with EOS Dublin. I believe the Sharif and the guys have been on with you a few times.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to that. That'll be fun.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Whenever
I think we've got about 150 people signed up already, so it's going to be a pretty big meetup. Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, we wish we were there too, but that sounds great.
Yeah,
Plenty of Guinness. There's going to be plenty of Guinness guys.
St. James Gate meetup, yeah.
Yeah, right on.
Well, good deal, guys. Great to meet you. Thank you guys for coming on.
Yeah, and thanks so much, especially like for all you do. The team kind of wanted to send on their appreciation for EOS Radio. So cheers.
Yeah,
thank you, guys, and keep up the comedy.
We try.
Thank you. Keep up with the plants back there. It looks beautiful. Might reach the roof soon. Thanks, guys.
Great to meet you guys.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Good night.
See, Kevin, people appreciate our jokes sometimes.
Once in a while, we probably should tone it. We should probably tone it down more often, maybe. No, just kidding.
I was gonna say, what the heck?
Sometimes we crack a joke, and I'm just thinking we shouldn't have done that. But.
Yeah. I think I lost my bet though. Remember we had that bet who would make Thomas laugh? I think I lost that. You made him laugh quite a bit.
That was a secret bet. I think, but I think you did lose that bet. You owe me some EOS.
Yes, I do.
We have CYBEX. EOS.CYBEX is coming on. They're a block producer candidate, but they also have a bunch of products they put out, EOS projects and more. And we have their CEO. This is Jeff. He's the community manager. And I believe Yan Feng is coming on as well. He's the CEO of the company. And we'll learn more about their tools. Hey, Jeff, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Good to meet you. And you are based in... Go ahead.
I will give the speech. Yeah, so I just turned off the room.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
It looks like a nice room. Are you in Beijing?
No, we are based in Shanghai.
You're in Shanghai, right? Okay, great. And it looks like you'll be presenting as well. You'll be sharing your screen. Is that right?
What? Yeah, Yan will share the screen and presenting. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Hi, Jeff. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Bluejays.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I watched some of your shows.
Okay.
It's really good.
Oh, thank you.
Do you like our jokes?
Jokes or videos?
We were just told that some people like our jokes, which is a surprise sometimes to us. But
Hi, hello everyone.
Hey, Young.
Hi, I'm Yan. Good evening.
Hey, good evening, Yan. How are you?
Hi, good. Here is early morning.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for coming on so early. I know hopefully you've had some coffee.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I've already have a cup of coffee.
Oh, good.
Well, let's go ahead and dive into it. You guys are EOS.CYBEX, and we're looking forward to learning more about you guys. And based in Shanghai, China, what should we know about EOS.CYBEX?
So I have a presentation. So can I share my desktop?
Sure, go ahead.
You should see on the bottom there's a share screen button on your. Yeah.
If you wanted, Jeff, you can let us know a little bit about yourself and Yan too while you're getting set up.
Sorry.
I said if you wanted to let us know a little bit more about yourselves individually, you can do that while you're getting set up.
I'm Yan from Shanghai, China. CYBEX is the project I set up with my classmate, James. James is the key opinion leader in China. So we believe in the future, the decentralized exchange should be the final form factor to exchange crypto asset. So we researched the technology in the market and finally selected the technology roadmap based on the graphene technology. So when the industrial is developing, we see the EOS appear. So we believe EOS has many advantages, and because the graphene technology, for us it's easy to migrate to EOS system. So we attending this campaign for competing supernode. Our final destination is not the win the campaign. It's not just win the campaign, because for us, CYBEX is originally an application based on the similar infrastructure. So we real goal is want to build a application ecosystem of EOS. So we will continuously invest in application ecosystem.
Okay, cool.
And you guys have done multiple projects so far. I know you have a cold storage wallet, and I don't want to.
Yeah, and the decentralized exchange already launched 2 months, and now provided 20 trading pairs, including many high potential project initial exchange. Yeah. So because the decentralized exchange now combine the atomic swap and the centralized gateway. For centralized gateway, we want to improve the security. So we develop, in fact, we develop this multiple hardware signature custodian service in last years. And at the beginning of this years and recently, we support EOS and provide an individual version, a Bluetooth version of EOS hardware wallet. We think this is the first hardware wallet in the world to support the EOS. Yeah, and we also will attend the EOS Hackathon in Hong Kong in June to provide our application embedded in the Bluetooth hardware wallet.
Very nice. Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah,
it's going to be a big event too. You guys get any sleep during that event?
Yeah, we have a team to join the event.
Okay, good. So you set up sleeping bags, and some people will be coding, and some people.
yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Good deal. Yeah, and do you have your presentation for us? I'm excited to see what you have.
Yeah, I have a presentation. So I think you should switch to my screen. Then I can share the desktop.
Yeah, if you look on the little video conference thing towards the bottom, you'll see the share screen right in the middle. Should be a green button, I think.
Yeah.
And then it'll show your screen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there you go.
Can you hear? Can you see the screen?
Yeah, we can see it. I'll resize it here so that it'll show up better. There you go.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah. So as I said, the CYBEX is a decentralized exchange we launched 2 months ago. This decentralized exchange, the code base is forked from the BitShares. So it based on the graphene technology, and they use the similar consensus method as EOS, the delegated proof of stake. We modified the original BitShares code to adding some capability to atomic swap. This atomic swap is designed by the model of Bitcoin and CYBEX. On Bitcoin side, we use the script system to have to implement the time lock and the collateral scheme. In CYBEX side, because there isn't script system like Bitcoin, so we use multi-signature method to implement the time lock and to refine the process. But because now this atomic swap model is based on something like a zero knowledge step, we call the cut and choose. So the cost of swap is relatively high. So it's just suitable for large volume trading between counterparty. Not is very suitable small amount trading. For small amount trading, we also provide a more centralized way to provide the liquidity. It's a gateway. So for this gateway, we designed automatic adjustment in the gateway. So hot wallet and the cold wallet, and the cold wallet hosts the majority of the asset. So for as improve the security of the cold wallet, we use multi-signature hardware wallet to implement the cold wallet. So this is a picture of our multi-signature cold wallet. In the left, you can see we complete the real transaction on EOS testnet just recently, and you can use multiple hardware. Its form factor is a USB key to insert a normal USB hub. Then multiple guys confirm the transaction volume and address on the USB key display, not confirm anything on the computer or website. So it cannot be phishing. And the security level of the USB key is conformative with banking security level. Yeah, this is a demo video of our multi-signature hardware wallet for gateways security improvement.
And Jan, for those who are listening on podcast, can you just give us a brief overview as we watch what we're seeing?
For our audio viewers, we're running through a silent video here. If you would like to see it, just look at our video on YouTube.
Sorry, you can't see the video?
We can see the video. We just are not able to hear any sound. That's fine. You can continue with the video.
Okay.
It's just because we have a podcast, we want to just describe to our audio podcast listeners that there's a video going on. You can continue with the video.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe as they go through it what's happening?
Yeah, now one by one confirm the transaction fee and address on the display of USB key. So
Oh, very cool.
Good deal.
okay. So just now you just can hear the narrative sound.
We haven't had any sound at all on our end. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we will post the YouTube link. So yeah, anyone interested can see the YouTube link for narrative background.
Yeah, and I think we posted that link already to the chat. Yeah, that's hopefully everybody.
Okay, so let's go on with the presentation.
Sure.
Yeah, and this is a Bluetooth code wallet version for a mobile app. The left side is the screenshot of a mobile app of the CYBEX, the decentralized exchange. Users can download from our official website. Now we have an iOS and Android version, and compatible with the mobile app, we provide a card form factor, like the right up corner. This is a prototyping of a COM form factor, and this video is our recently test. Use the display to show the EOS.CYBEX logo. Yeah. This board embedded display and the fingerprint sensor. So it will scan your fingerprint to unlock your card. In fact, the fingerprint is protected your PIN code. And we have some technology to combine the MCU to control the display and the security element and the fingerprint algorithm embedded together on one chip all in one. So the security level is very high. It can be protected from the side channel attack and some physical attack. So yeah, this is a version of code wallet for individual usage.
That looks really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now in CYBEX, we provide some application for crowd sales. So we use the interactive crowd sales model to improve the user experience, something like a Dutch auction. So it's more reasonable for high valuation project. Yeah. And because in the decentralized exchange, we can implement automatic collateral in the exchange. So we also can provide the price stable currency. It's a totally decentralized collateral price stable currency. We also provide other price stable currency now, such as the USDT. Yeah, and as we know, the liquidity in decentralized exchange is a big problem. I think every decentralized exchange will face. So we are in the process to improve the liquidity provider friendliness. We will improve low latency, transaction cost, hedging cost, and the risk control. We will because now in CYBEX every activity including bid and ask, is on chain, should be confirmed and should consume the native currency CYB. So it's not a very liquidity provider friendly. We will split the order matching to a more centralized way, and the settlement clearance totally decentralized on chain. So it's more balanced to decentralize and the liquidity. We will borrow some mature technology from the traditional equity trading, include hardware and software improvement. Yeah. So the most viable product that will be launched in 1 or 1.5 months. So we have a special team from a traditional investment bank to implement this high throughput order matching system.
Wow.
Yeah. And as we know, EOS provide the smart contract capability on the EVM. So this is tools incubated by CYBEX ecosystem. Yeah, it's this tool is the first formal verification platform for EOS in the world. It uses automatic scan the smart contract and use some open source tools to do the logic verification to prove the vulnerability of the smart contract. So this tool is developed by Chengdu Lianan. Yeah, we incubated this project recently. This video is for their tools, how to automatically scan smart contract, then give the scanning result. These tools have a different level of verify. The first level is bugging finding. Then the second level is security verification. The highest level is function verification. This is tools already launched.
Verification.
And go ahead and keep narrating because the sound doesn't work through this. So if you can just keep describing.
Yeah. So you should upload the CPP and HPP and ABI into the box and click the bug finding, security verification. Now the screen is bug found. Integer add may overflow. Yeah, integer sub will get a negative number. This is automatic scan the result. But for security verification and function verification, now it has to be involved manually check. So Chengdu Lianan is involving a verification community. We just have a very technical meetup in Paris with INRIAN, the famous national computer lab. They develop a COG, the verification tools. So Lianan technology will attract more expert into the verification community to contribute some manually verify for a smart contract on EOS ecosystem.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
That's impressive. Yeah.
Yeah. So now the status of the tool is half automatic and half manually. I think they are continue to push the automatic implementation.
All right, Jan, thank you for that. I believe your presentation is still going. Yep.
Yeah, and just a minute. And for the above, the technology implementation, our ecosystem also invests incubator all over the world Now we open we have already opened 4 offices in East Asia. Then we will expand to Europe and the United States. So in this incubator center, we will incubate many EOS applications. Recently, we just hosted a successful hackathon in Tokyo. Over 130 hackers from 12 countries attended this hackathon, and the result is very good. So we will host this kind of hackathon next in Singapore, maybe cooperate with the government Mars Monetary Administration section to provide a more specific topic in different city. So this is we can contribute to EOS system, and we call this incubator platform is Longhash. Longhash also provide a data and a news service to the community. Its target is using data to understand the blockchain. We also already launched a website to provide the everyday updated original news, or especially data journalism, and some data analysis service, real-time service, such as network address analysis, such as some marketing data visualization. Okay, so this is our contribution. So we pledge to, we believe that, so we will.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
This is amazing. And we're getting a lot of compliments in chat. So this hardware wallet's awesome.
Yeah, everybody's very impressed by your projects, and it's neat to meet you because you guys are like the dark horse down there. I mean, we didn't realize you guys had so much going on. It's amazing, really, very impressive.
Yeah, we are a technology-driven team and a project. We want to contribute more technology, basic technology to the EOS ecosystem.
Very nice. Yeah, thank you, and keep in touch. We posted your website onto the link there, and if is there anywhere else that people should keep up with you guys, stay in touch with you?
Sure. Very welcome.
And do you guys have like
that's all today's presentation.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks, Jan.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Jeff. It was a pleasure.
Thanks.
Good night. Or good morning.
Good night.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The bird in the background makes it very clear. It's a good morning.
Yeah. If you could stop sharing your screen, and then we'll move on to the BP discussion panel coming up. Kevin, so I believe we have about 6 or 7 BPs coming on, so that should be a great show. It's part of the show.
So now I leave the meeting.
Yeah. Thanks, Jan.
Yes, please.
Wonderful having you on.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. That was amazing. As you said, we have a lot of comments from folks who are just very excited about those. The cold storage wallet. I mean, that's the first wallet for EOS, and the formal verification. And that was impressive. Very nice. Here comes the block producer panel, the whole group. And we're gonna, as they all come in, here's Crypto Lions from Ukraine. There's Mr. Rose, Kevin Rose from EOS New York, and Denny from EOS Nation. Deadlock, and if you have your YouTube turned on, if you could please mute the YouTube. There's a bit of a delay, so it winds up providing feedback. And Deadlock, I believe, are you from Singapore?
EOSG, I believe.
Yeah.
Singapore. And Sungjae?
Yeah, Singapore.
Hello. It's Jay.
Is my volume okay?
Yeah. Sound good. Yeah. And then SJ, where are you from?
I'm Jay from HKEOS.
HK, okay, great. Great to meet you. And then, of course, Mr. Cox is here as well. Thank you for everybody for joining us. And so we'll keep the format pretty similar to how we've done this in the past, where we have a set of about 6 questions. We usually go through the first question just to meet everybody and hear their overall vision for the launch. And then we try to open the floor up and let you guys sort of interface with each other. We just talk about the security, any kind of issues that you see, or hopes or dreams or optimisms, all that kind of thing. So, and of course, once again, Mr. Cox, we'd love to sort of open it up with you if we could, please.
Super. So I wanted to let folks know, I think everybody on the call probably by now has heard from Mao at EOS Real. And the block producers are outside of the purview of Block.1, getting together with a bunch of other stakeholders to clarify the governance documents, yay team, and make any last-minute tweaks or changes that folks feel are needed to be made to launch when launch time comes. And of course, here in this chat, we're going to be talking about a lot of the technical aspects of the launch, including, and I'm sorry we don't have him on the line, Mr. John Milburn has done, I think, a lot to help everybody coalesce around what I hear secondhand. I'm not competent to assess it, but I hear is a very solid plan technically for how to launch and how to withstand potential denial of service attacks and so forth. And if we don't have EOS Canada on here, we don't have Mr. Bluejays on, we should all give a little hat tip to Alexander Bluejays for his incredible work with EOSVibes, which I'm sure we'll hear a lot about. I'm just thrilled that as the main authors of the software have backed away a little bit here in the last few weeks, we've really seen the block producers and other stakeholders step in, I think, very aggressively, very maturely, very creatively to self-organize and begin to create the structures that only they can create. You can't get it from the software. You can't get it from top down. It's got to be bottom-up grassroots community. By the way, I think that really started happening with EOS Go back in like December and November and January. That's when I saw the first little sprouts coming up through the ground, the first little crocuses and daffodils coming up. That was right here. And we're going to hear some interesting stuff from the block producers, I predict.
Thanks for that compliment, Thomas. We have Bassett, who just joined from EOSVibes. Welcome, Bassett. I'm not sure if you heard me. Anyhow, guys, let's get going. Kevin, do you want to ask the first question?
Yeah, sure. It's always the what is your vision for the launch? And what we ask for as we go around here, if you could introduce yourself and mention which team you're with, where you're from, and then just give us your 2 or 3 sentences, what you kind of see happening around the launch the first few weeks. So we'll go ahead and start here. Let's see. We have Crypto Lions, I believe is first. So guys, welcome. We'd love to hear more about your vision on the launch.
Well, hello, my name is Roman. I'm co-founder of Crypto Lions. We are an EOS block producer candidate based here in Ukraine.
Hello, I am Bogdan, founder of Crypto Lions, and probably we are most known by Jungle Test Network. What about launch, please, Roman?
Okay, so the launch. Well, first of all, we should, however we think it should happen, or wherever we stand on the little debate that has started, we should all be very happy that we seem to have attracted such a deep community of technical talent. The last time that Bogdan had to restart the Jungle testnet, it took all of 30 minutes. Granted, that was a simpler problem. There was no token distribution, but we have quite, and it's not just us. We're probably not even the best team at launching, but there are quite a few teams perfectly capable of getting this off the ground. There are 3 categories of questions. There are some technical questions. Last night, we hit what seems like a fairly significant resynchronization issue with the Jungle testnet, but the core devs are all over it, and I think that'll just go away. The most important category of questions are validation questions. I think validating is even more important than launching, where all the discussion seems to center. And then the third category of questions are the people questions. Should we all rally behind EOSVibes, which seems to have, by my very rough estimate, not a majority of support, but a plurality of support? If we do that, is it unfair to all the teams that have been working quietly but very diligently practicing their manual launches? After some discussion, our position is twofold. Firstly, we support the idea made by Eric from Sweden and Michael Yates from EOS DAC that anybody who thinks they can and wants to launch does, and then we do a random selection of the successfully launched chains, and then all agree to rally behind the one that results from this manual selection. But the EOSVibes guys already said they don't like that idea. Their argument is that it creates more problems than it solves. That debate is ongoing. The second part of our position is that we do not want to take the lead here. We will fall behind whatever seems like it's the main chain. Our niche seems to have become the jungle testnet. We think we're creating value with it as a training and testing environment. We want to do that first and support whatever comes out of the community. I'm optimistic, even if there's no consensus. I think what we may see is multiple launches followed by a great act of humility with the goal of resulting in one chain. And if we see that act of humility, I think we should give it the praise it deserves. Last thing, you, Bluejay, Mr. Cox, Thomas, do not underestimate your great reputations that you've established over these last few months, and maybe this is an issue where it's worth weighing in on a little bit more forcefully than you have been in the past.
Thanks, guys. Kevin, do you have anything to say to that?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we can hear the same thing from Mr. Cox. We'll finish going around here, and then we'll maybe open up the floor a little more. Let's jump over to Denny and EOS Nation for the next answer here. Hey, Denny.
Hey there, Kevin. Hey there, Bluejays. Thank you again for having me. It's a great honor to be on the show again with you guys. I also want to do a shout out for G on your first episode. He was talking about community engagement, which is great. We're also going to be attending the Tulip conference. Stefan and myself will be attending, so we're looking forward to see your first to see them. I think it was for the how we see the launch. We've also been following the EOSVibes track. Right now, with the Scholar testnet, what we're going to end up doing is we're going to practice, again, multiple iterations of the stages. How the EOSVibes boot works is that as more BPs go online, it gets stronger and stronger. So we'll be practicing that. Not all the BPs have been joining, so hopefully we can merge the sort of education part and hopefully onboard as many BPs to bring the confidence back to a lot of the block producers to join this. But the struggle is actually just the coordination between maybe 30 to 50 block producers. I think all of us that have launched testnets, it is really difficult to do a manual approach and to coordinate 30 different configurations. So the coordination, the consensus of how we're going to boot. So there's a boot sequence consensus, and there's also the consensus of which snapshot we choose to use, which is really important. We will be launching not multiple chains. We will be doing one launch for one mainnet, because I think that would bring the most confidence to all focus our efforts onto the one chain, as long as there's consensus on the boot sequence and the snapshot. And I'm looking forward to see all these voting platforms and these wallets. I've just heard the EOS.CYBEX was discussing about a multi-sig cold wallet. That's amazing. So I'm looking forward to see a lot of voting mechanisms and EOS wallets that make it easy to vote and to use the chain after we've launched it.
Very nice. Thank you, Denny. That was great. And we'll go over to Mr. Deadlock, please. Or actually, you know what? Quickly, it looks like Kevin Rose, we'll jump over to you from EOS New York, and you're going to intro Buddy, I believe.
Yeah, so hey everybody, my name is Kevin. I'm co-founder of EOS New York with Buddy, who just jumped on. And don't worry, I'm not breaking the one panel for one block producer rule. I was just hanging out, holding his spot until he was ready to jump on. As everyone knows, we're all very busy preparing for launch, so just to keep it technical, wanted to have him here. So I'll throw it over to Buddy, and I'm going to sign off. And have a great show, everybody, and I'll be watching.
Cool, thanks.
Hey guys, how we doing?
Doing well,
good,
buddy.
Good. Yeah, Buddy, all we're doing is we're just introducing ourselves and then asking, what is your vision for the EOS launch, basically?
Hey, so yeah, I'm Buddy Deck. I'm head of block production for EOS New York, and my vision for launch is a hectic, 48 to 72 hours, where we're bootstrapping software that's less than 2 days old, and trying to make sure everything works as it's supposed to. So obviously there's a lot of challenges with that, and a lot of that goes with just communicating. Obviously the recent not recent, but like this ongoing East and West. How do we communicate across that little bit of a divide, as well as deciding on an application to use. What boot process are we going to use? Right, that's an ongoing conversation that we're having. So, yeah, it should be a fun 72-ish hours.
Sounds great. Cool. And we'll go over to Deadlock, please. If you could introduce yourself and describe what your vision is for the launch.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Hello, everyone. I'm Deadlock from SOSG. I would like to give a short introduction about our team. We are a group of 7 blockchain fans based on Singapore with strong technical abilities. We came across study this back in April. Although our team is small, self-funded, and do all of staff team as part-time, we have achieved something. We have posted some articles on Summit discussing system contracts by source code, and we are hosting a testnet with version DOM 4.1 and voting portal. So for my vision for the launch, we are super excited and really looking forward to it. I believe that it will launch successfully with everyone's great efforts. And for the next 2 weeks, we will have a very busy schedule, and there will be a lot of preparation and rehearsals to be done. And to sum it up, it's excited, and we are confident, and it will be very busy. And we already practiced the BIOS launch user manual scripts, and I think the most difficult part is the validation. Since you have a lot of block producers, it's very difficult to cooperate with each other. So I will vote for the EOS BIOS since it's automated. But if the community decides to use a manual way, I think we need to find a way to solve the cooperation part. Okay, thank you.
Excellent, thank you. And we'll jump over to Jay, please, if you could introduce yourself and let's hear about your vision for the launch.
Hi, I'm Jay from HK EOS, and HK EOS is basically a dApps incubator, and we're based in Hong Kong. So our vision for launch, basically, so our team and a lot of other teams are part of this group called Block Producer Infrastructure. And we set this group up around 2 months ago, and a lot of people have joined and shared quite a lot of insight, including John Milburn. And he was telling us a lot about some security concerns that we have, and gave us a lot of recommendations on infrastructure and everything. And since around a week ago, we tried to incorporate all of these ideas and combine them into a testnet that more closely resembles what the mainnet launch would look like and simulate it better. So we've been hard at work and writing a lot of scripts for Ghostbusters testnet, which actually is going live very soon. And the reason I say this is because as of now, EOS BIOS seems to be the only automated solution for launch, but we're actually creating an alternative solution for launch, and so that the community has more than one way potentially to launch the EOS mainnet. And we're actually working with quite a lot of other block producer candidates that let their own testnets, such as Crypto Lines. We agree with their idea of not relying on a single point of failure by launching multiple chains and then verifying them. And then if one of the chains survive, if a lot of the chains survive, hopefully, then we can randomly select one of the chains and then all combine from there for the mainnet.
Awesome. Thank you. And finally, we'll go over to Basit.
I just want to add real quick. I want to give credit where credit is due. That's not our idea. We just support it. It came from Eric from Sweden and Michael Yates.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for the clarification. It's great. And Basit, let's if you could introduce yourself, please, and we'll hear your vision for the launch.
Hello, everyone. I'm Basit from EOSVibes. Actually, we are a dev development DAO and also the block producer candidate. In the next couple of months, we are planning to launch our first dev. It's named EOSVibes. and in future we are also planning to launch a community proposed dev as well. So the launch process, I really like the launch process transparency, because it's very actually US launching its chain in a democratic way. So there will need to be a lot of communication between the VPs to make sure it will go without any problems. There are obviously some security threats that the BP community has pointed out, like the possibility of DDoS. Definitely that needs to be identified to the pre-launch of EOS mainnet. We also really need to harden the infrastructure security as well, like the failover scripts and the monitoring of the infrastructure and something like that. So that's our vision for the launch.
Great, thank you, Bashit. And yeah, Thomas, if you could jump in there, and I guess Roman had a question as well. What are your thoughts there, Thomas?
I didn't catch the thing you want my thoughts on.
Roman, you had a question specifically for Thomas. Can you repeat it for us?
I would just encourage you to tune into this debate. I actually think how we launch is not the most important thing. Verifying is more important. That deserves more focus than launching. But there is a small disagreement. I actually think it'll come out just fine in the end, whether we come to consensus or not. But there is a small disagreement in the community about how to launch, and I would encourage all the neutral parties here who are not themselves block producers to tune in and maybe express an opinion a little more forcefully than you've been expressing opinions in the past.
Can you describe the scenario a little further? I guess some of us are unfamiliar with controversy.
Well, it's the questions I mentioned. Do we all rally behind EOS BIOS, which from a distance looks like a great project? I'll point out that Dan Larimer has complimented their group. That's significant. The concerns are that it's new software, and rallying behind it ignores the efforts, a lot of great efforts that happened elsewhere in the community. Some people, not us, but they proposed letting everyone launch, everyone who wants to, but with the promise that we'll do a random selection and then let all the chains all the chains except the chosen one just sort of dissolve. So that's another option, but the EOS BIOS, from their perspective, that creates more problems than it solves. So there is a little bit of an impasse. If it was happening today, I think the most likely course of action would, like I said, would be multiple launches followed by a great act of humility, where some teams will just swallow their pride and rally behind one chain. But it's not today. We do have a little bit of time, and we may benefit from a neutral evaluation of this impasse.
Well, Thomas, I'll let you handle that one if you feel.
Oh, I know that I don't know enough to have an educated opinion, and uneducated opinions are not terribly useful at times like this. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut and say, absolutely, I'm happy to tune in. And at the very least, I'll ask questions, maybe even provocative questions. And if I ever get to a point where I have an opinion that might pass as educated, I'll share it. But I won't promise that I'll reach that level of understanding. What you guys do is magic to me.
Well said.
I'll add, by the way, that having a really good, healthy, respectful debate on multiple approaches is exactly what we need. I'm delighted we're having it now. Automated versus manual launch, single versus multi-chain. There's probably good things to be said in all cases, and getting to know how we agree and disagree with one another is the single most important team building thing we could do right now. So learning how to disagree on the technology while being agreeable as people, because this is going to happen again. There's going to be some big bug. There's going to be a DAO hack equivalent. won't be that screwed up, but it'll be screwed up in its own magical way. We're all gonna be like, blah, 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 and we want to fall back on whatever muscles we build in this conversation right here. So that's fabulous.
Great point, Thomas. Excellent point.
Yeah, very well said. Anyone else who'd like to chime in, actually?
I guess I can chime in also. I know I think we've all done manual launches. What brings the EOS bias was actually written. It was kind of designed by the article from Thomas Cox is essentially to decide also the boot node, right? If a lot of these manual approaches, you just define your own boot node and appointing the 20 block producers. All of that is actually very complex on a manual approach. For the Scholar testnet, we haven't achieved 15 greater block producers. So we've always been under the 21 block producers on launch date. So to coordinate above 21 to have, let's say, 22 nodes all coordinating on a single chain is very, very difficult. So that's why we agree that we should all put into one, if we all agree that we should all put into one effort, it's a lot easier to have very reputable block producers all putting one effort into one and not spreading all ourselves thin. Because if we spread onto 5 different chains, then we might have credible people on different chains when we should all kind of join together and to have the most credible block producers on a single effort. So mostly my concern is having the effort onto one team and not have 5 different teams and then spread the expertise thin. I'd like to see all the expertise in one group instead of 5 different groups. That's my point of the.
Dennis, can I ask a question?
Yes.
You say when you've done your manual launches, you've done 15 initial producers. Have you ever then added more after launch to get above 20?
Yeah, we can add with the set producer.
Okay, great.
So the set producer, you can kind of just bump them up after. The voting mechanism is kind of a new version 4. So we can always have, let's say on the initial launch, we were about 16 or so. And that took about a day or so process because as the time zone, obviously for a mainnet launch, that would happen a lot faster and people would wake up at 2 in the morning or 3 or 6 or whatever the time zone is.
I don't know. I might sleep.
People should wake up. So it's really hard to coordinate 5 different teams all differently, and especially above the 22 mark. If we're doing off chains with less than 22 and less than 22 skilled block producers, it'd be very hard to say that we have 5 different solid chains. It'd be better to have one really solid chain with all the expertise onto that one, and then let the mechanism, the voting mechanism. A lot of these manual approaches, the people that are organizing these manual approaches will not dictate, but will decide that they are the boot node. So for the Scholar testnet, I booted the node. There was no random play to announce that I was the boot node. I was the only one that wanted to do it. And I think Boham for CryptoLion and Eric from Sweden, we've all been the boot node. It's a lot of weight on the shoulder. So the EOS bias boot randomly selects that boot node, which a manual approach won't tell you which boot node is going to go, unless you manually decide it yourself. It's not an algorithm.
Can I tell you what my rationale was for the way I wrote that story? So I was talking to Dan several months ago about, the old code from back in September. You had a Genesis block with all the opening balances and your initial 21 producers, just hard code. It was just hard, and that would work. It would totally work. We know it worked. It did work. And I thought to myself, man, whoever those first 21 are, they're going to get this big leg up, and it's going to, even if it's a fair process, it'd be easy for someone to feel that it wasn't fair. And man, it felt ugly. It felt risky politically to have that be the way we would do it. no matter what process I could dream up, it just didn't feel safe to me. And part of the lack of safety was the sense that who the heck am I to pick 21 people and know that they're all really like have their stuff together? Am I competent to assess that, me personally? And even if I am I like setting myself up as kingmaker now? Well, that's not very decentralized. And so I was really feeling the sense that, we've got to let the community like self-create this. And so as I was creating, I was thinking, the launch is unlike anything else we ever do. After it's launched, if you can run the code and join and set producer and get votes, you should be fine. But that initial creation of balances, creating a system contract, not like sticking your own, I pay myself 1/1,000,000th of every EOS, little clever. Some guy did that, by the way, in another crypto wise I read about. Some developer actually wrote a little thing in there, checked it in GitHub, just paid himself like once a day, he'd get a little tax taken out of it. I'm like, seriously? And when he was caught, his rationale was, well, I did a lot of work. Like, dude, you just destroyed all trust in you. So I'm thinking, how do we get from zero to something, even though we all know how new producers will get selected once the voting is up? So I thought, okay, number one, who is technically competent to launch this thing? We don't want Blocky McBlockface and 286, driven by a hamster wheel, like in there doing something crucial and screwing it up. So I said, well, okay, what if we have a launch pool that's just block producers selected by other block producers for their excellence in producing blocks? Eric from Sweden is in that list. Everybody on this call is on that list. We could all think of 3 or 4 others that we think, yeah, if it comes down to it at my elbow when things get a little weird during launch. And then, so that's just the go live group. And then once it's up, if they all get voted out and Blocky McBlockface gets these votes, he probably can't screw it up too badly once it's launched, right? The window of harm and risk is gone. And so I wanted this sort of self-selected or community-selected subgroup somehow to rise up. And I think we're doing that now. You all know who you trust. If we polled everybody blindly, we could find the top 50. Easy, easy, easy. Then the second thing was, well, who actually like pulls the trigger? And so both from a safety perspective, we don't want them attacked. And also it probably isn't fair to just pick one guy and let him, forever after in his marketing materials, he's going to brag about being the BIOS boot node, right? Assuming it goes well. I mean, he'll bury it if it goes badly, but if it goes well, he'll brag forever. And I say he advisedly because we're all dudes here. So a random selection using a seed that's like the last 5 digits of the next hash of next Bitcoin block or something that you can't see in the future, but once it's passed, it's deterministic. So that kind of a random seed, stick that in, you got your boot group, and then you pick one based on a provably unpredictable thing, and then you pull the trigger. And then, God bless him, Alexander saw that and said, this looks really complicated. I'd much rather do this with a script. I'm like, oh my God, if I could do it with a script, I would too. Because I'm a big DevOps guy. I'd rather build from a script than do anything manually. I guess I'm lazy that way. And he just took it to the 9th degree. But what I'm sensing is because, it's been this incredible project, largely Alexander, that a lot of folks are feeling like, well, where's my contribution? And hey, wait, there's a lot. Well, if we get too reliant on automated tools, then we won't even know what's going on really. You'll get you no longer have your hands on the wood. You can't feel it like a craftsman. You can't really tell what's up. And so, yeah, that's a really valid point. So maybe multiple chains launched simultaneously also resisted to attack. And okay, you name yourself BIOS boot, but 5 other guys did that too. Okay, and if 3 of them get shot in the head, metaphorically speaking, getting it knocked offline somehow, okay, great. The community's unharmed. You could even come back from the dead in an hour or 2 and be a contender. So you could make a case for either approach being really solid. I know if I were launching once a week for the next 50 weeks, I would totally want it automated eventually. And I can see, I'm guessing, I'm projecting a little bit, that there's resistance to a heavily automated approach that folks may not feel much authorship of, may not fully understand. I know I don't understand it. And that may remove from monitoring some crucial early steps. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, on that note, I think that there are a few degrees of how manual or how automatic a launch can be.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's a spectrum. It's not a one or the other. Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's not really black and white. For example, what we're planning to do for our Ghostbusters testnet now is we wrote this algorithm that basically randomly selects a couple of that has a sub-team called bias opt-in, where candidates that want to become the bias net joins this team. And then through the keybase system, we find out which usernames or which teams are in that opt-in group, and then we randomly select out of them. So that's automatic, and then we also pull a genesis from that BIOS node that gets chosen, and then everything starts automatically from there. And then for us, what we've done is we've sort of divided the steps of our scripts so that like part of it is automatic, and then you can check in the middle, and then you go on to the next step and so on. So I guess there isn't really a black or white, like this is completely manual, this is completely automatic. There are different approaches to how people could launch automatically, I guess.
So Jay, is your code, your launch code, your scripts and so on, are those in GitHub? Those, can we see those?
Yeah, it's public, and people have been trying to test it out, raising issues, pull requests. I mean, this community is really quick and awesome at testing your software out and then giving feedback. So yeah.
I can also add the 5 cents in this field. So we are testing a lot since down 2, and on down 3 we have almost 100 recipients, and it's really was hard to manage all these teams. But on down 4 we have voting, and it helps a lot automate everything. We do not need register every producer, they do this alone. But what I saw each time starting the jungle test network, that first I create the automatic script, but then after I return it for 8-step scripts that do step by step, and you can see the result of them, so you can control over the startup process and see the result on each important step, like distribution, like issuing, creating, and allowing first contracts. And sometimes there are some issues, and when you do this step by step, you can control this and repeat the action and do the same things to make the result the best in the end. So, and why I really like this this approach with 5 launches or any number of launches at one time, that there are different approaches to launch. It's very interesting. For example, Ghostbuster Network create a super secure launch. Alexander from BIOS create automatic with some confirmation, and the idea is okay. And I think we need more think about and unite and think about verifying this chain, verifying the data that's what distributor, so that we can be sure that this blockchain is correct. There is no more data that was in snapshot and was nothing loose on the way. So, and what about the random selection? We have some brainstorm 2 days ago, and there was some idea to create a Ethereum contract that will do the random selection. So it's possible also, and yeah, it's our thoughts.
I need to hop in real quick. I got to show you something. Earlier today, I snapped this photo. It's Dan and me in front of the big monitor we got set up, and it's the jungle testnet in the background. FYI. And it's not that we're playing favorites. But we're the ones that put out a URL to a monitoring page. And if other people would like themselves up on that screen, you got to get better at your PR people. Send us the link, man. We'll look at it. We are fascinated by what's going on out there with you guys. It's very interesting and important to us to have that information. So just wanted to say, hey, Jungle Testnet.
We're screenshotting
We're aware of it.
Playback.
I would like to also second that the Jungle Testnet has had a really good monitoring tools. They're actually the first ones to really kind of create this monitoring tools. And then as other testnets show up, I'm like, hey, I know that. That looks like the Jungle Testnet. So I think anyone who builds community tools around it, voting platforms, monitoring tools, a lot of BPs have shown really great talent through the development of these testnets. And so good credit. I'm on the Jungle Testnet as well. I think every BP is. So it's a really great tool. And I know Bohan has been working really hard to support all the BPs, the forking of the chains. So a lot of credit to them and a lot of support that they're doing across different BPs as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey guys, just to keep it moving. So if anybody, these seem to be a little bit more open now. So just chime in if you feel like you should. So the next question is, what challenges do you see, and what risks do you think that are the big ones out there right now?
Well, I think it's, as we've been talking about, it's figuring out the consensus, right? And figuring out how we want to boot this thing. And I think we're kind of narrowing it down. I mean, I think it comes down to, there's two camps, right? There's some number of launches of chains that will launch, and then they'll randomly pick one to be the main net. And then there's go big, everybody goes to the same launch, and then we just go from there. And that's all well and good. But I think one of the big things that was mentioned a little bit, but we haven't been talking about a lot, is who's going to be verifying the information is correct, right? Is the snapshot correct? Are all the accounts with the right balances? We've got the EOS.IO snapshot channel is closing up shop soon as Block 1 kind of moves away and kind of lets the community take over. And I think we need more eyes on that. We need more eyes on what the verification means and what who's going to be doing that, and can it be an independent entity, or is it going to be a bunch of different BPs deciding and that? So I think that's the real main challenge for me, at least, besides the launch, is verifying the launch was valid.
For me, I think that security is definitely a huge concern, and the number one rule in security is that you need to assume that attacks will happen during launch. And if we assume that they won't and be optimistic, then we won't be able to prepare against them and have things, have our defenses ready, right? So for us, the reason why we like the multiple chain thing is because we believe that it adds a little soft net cushion where some of the chains could go wrong and get attacked and go down, but we still have a lot of failovers basically in terms of the number of chains. And the reason why we have done the private mesh security, this is all the idea of John Milburn and stuff that he recommended, is because he's really the guy that knows about how all of this works, all the attack vectors that could occur. And he has all the experience in terms of, I think, security. And I think he knows a lot in that field. So that's why we've been implementing a lot of these things that can help mitigate attacks and decrease the number of threat vectors during launch.
Yeah, I can add a little that if we start a few networks separately, then it will be harder to attack every network because there are many. Yeah, and other things that Okay, let's continue because I forget. I lost my idea.
I don't know what you were gonna say. I just want to second what Buddy said from EOS New York. More focus on the verification.
Yeah. It's both connected to verification. So I don't think we need only one solution to verify the chain. It's better than it will be much than better solution. Then we can say that it is true. So, and I think that will be good to have the cross solution. For example, one solution that check snapshot and blockchain, the second blockchain with Ethereum blockchain. And if we will have as much as possible solution that will be do the cross check, it will be better.
So, and we have a comment here from the chat. It says, my hope is that over the next week, we can bring in best tools and practices from multiple test nets and converge on a best of breed consensus for the launch itself. Any thoughts or comments on that particular comment?
Well, definitely best breed for sure. I think one of the most important thing will be, even though we might be using different tools to boot the main net, we would sort of agree on the boot sequence. In the EOS BIOS, there's a YAML file that actually has a boot sequence. Now that YAML file doesn't need to be interpreted exactly, but one of the key things actually is the RAM allocation. So this was a topic in the BIOS boot, was the RAM allocation. Now, how much RAM we allocate at the boot will determine the price of RAM for the speculators or for the BPs. Now, this has jumped from, which was initially 32 terabytes worth of RAM, which would allow speculators to buy at a really low price. And now I think we've had a consensus of 24 gigabytes of RAM that will be created at the boot launch. Those boot consensus is decided by the BIOS. So even if we do launch with different tools, different applications, we still need to kind of find a consensus on how we do the boot, even though we might use different tools, because right now the RAM will be based on the Bancor algorithm, and that will determine a really different price point of the initial first buyers and those speculators. That might skyrocket the price for RAM and make all the BPs have to increase their RAM allocation, but nobody will use it. It will just be speculators. Or we tone it down to have a low RAM allocation. The price will be a little bit higher for RAM, and as every week or month, can increase the RAM allocation as we go. But the first boot sequence for RAM allocation will be very important. That first deterministic, see if is it 24 gigabytes, is it in the terabytes? As long as we can all agree on consensus for that would relieve a lot of that would create at least consensus for that.
And I should have clarified actually that previous comment was from Jem in the chat, and he's got another one here, and he looks awfully young in his picture to be saying these kind of things, but anyway, he says he doesn't believe that the multi-launches are necessarily the way to go. He says that we can do better. We need automation. We need randomization amongst a small group of capable producers. We need better security tools. Any comments from anybody on that?
I'm afraid to agree too loudly because someone will say, great, what are your thoughts? And I don't have any. But I totally get the point. And on the one hand, I don't mind the idea of people, multiple people doing different things and having some redundancy that way. I mean, it's very decentralized, hey. On the other hand, it can be kind of wasteful and even distracting potentially. Having fewer attempts with more wise heads could be it. And I think someone earlier said having our most technical people concentrated in one effort. Boy, that felt really good to me when I heard that. I don't know, steering by my internal sensations is wise, but I did want to share that felt like maybe good counsel.
I have one little concern about the EOS BIOS solution. Currently, the solution is using Docker. I'm a Docker fan totally, but I cannot find a way to use the command line to interact with the Docker node. So I think this might be a problem because not everyone is a Docker expert. They may need to write their own scripts to do the verification. So I think this is the issue we need to solve.
Just
And
also
sorry.
just to add on the Docker, also if we could coordinate the releases. So right now 4.1 is not out on a Docker build, so it makes the deployments also not in sync. So having each of the releases also have a Docker file to be synced with the releases with the Docker builds.
Totally. The Docker file and Docker images works fine. But my concern is that is it possible to use EOSVibes to boot a Node EOS, the pure C++ build executable to boot? If that one is possible, then I think we are more confident on the booting solution because we can use the official executable and we can use CellUS command line to interact with it. We can do verification. We can write on bash on our own favorite way, like Python, like Bash, like Go, like C++. I think there will be benefit all of us if it's possible.
I don't want to derail the conversation and make it about EOSVibes, but yeah, that is possible. That's how I do it. I don't use Docker with my EOSVibes scripts. You just change your hooks to call the NodeOS and all that directly. A heads up.
Yeah, and I also think on that note, it would be easier to debug and like as a community solve a problem if something goes wrong during launch, if everybody's more comfortable with what they're using.
So get more drills, more practice in our remaining few days is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and I think the community needs to do a better job of taking over some of like the GitHub repo that we started talking about in the Block Pros. We need to actually take it and make it ours because Block One is only going to be around for so much longer. In terms of driving this thing, we need to start figuring out how we're going to communicate. Is it Telegram? Is it EOS Go forums? Is it Keybase? I mean, these types of problems are non-trivial and we got to figure out what platform and how we're going to communicate everything. And that goes to figuring out what size RAM and what increment we're going to increase the delegated RAM and all that kind of thing.
Good points.
Now, is there a consensus on the actual problems there? I mean, can we list those out and then can we start knocking them out one by one?
I'll tell you what I just heard and someone chime in. So number one, we got to know internal communication channel. There needs to be one prime, one backup. And it needs to be something that everyone's at least reasonably comfortable with or that no one absolutely hates or that doesn't work in their geography or whatever. Communications one. Recap the others.
Well, we need to figure out who's going to own the community GitHub, right?
Even for the short term, even if it's just for 30 days, we need a short list of very trusted people who lock that thing. They got to know Git, which I don't.
Yeah, so we already have a group going on that. EOS Go has volunteered to put it under our repository temporarily until we figure something else out. So we have NS James, Cesar Rodriguez, and Phil Mesnier all working together in a group to clone and fork the code.
We got to get the word out on that. And if is everyone on this call okay with that group, NS James and Phil Mesnier and EOS Go? No one's looking to repulse.
Yep.
Maybe we should just settle on that as not so broken as to require a revolt. I'm not looking for consensus. I'm looking for I have no principled objections. Okay.
And the only person I would like to add to that list, if he'll take it, is John.
Milburn?
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, we've reached out to John as well. And also, we're looking for folks maybe from China. We'd love some representatives from China and Korea as well. So if you know of anybody who may be neutral, help us reach out to and help spread the word about this. But yeah.
I'd love to know what neutral means.
We don't know either.
Okay. We're all doing our best here. So yeah, ownership of the repo, communications channels, EOS Real is doing, I think, a phenomenal job of organizing a last pass through all the governance documents to make sure that there's real community buy-in on their settings, because the stuff that's in the GitHub is going to be just defaults. They won't have been really run through the community to search out those principled objections. And I think that's a very important thing that I'm very content for them to just quarterback that, and I'll do my best to participate. Although I'm going on vacation for 4 days over the long weekend, just so you know. You heard it here first. And testing, who are our lead people for validating initial balances and validating the initial contracts in the system contracts? Is there one approach? Should there be more than one approach? Who feels that they can own that would be a good question. And that, again, should be 2 or 3 heads working on that. With the launch approach, full automated, semi-automated, one start, multiple starts. I hope someone's writing this down, because I'm not going to remember this later. Let's see. That feels like most of it. What am I missing? I'm missing at least one thing.
I would just say for the short term, I know the big concern is the voting mechanisms. I know EOS Go is pushing a community-driven voting platform and portal.
Oh, the visual one, yeah.
Yeah, right now there will only be a command line, and not everyone is a command line person. And yeah. So, and I know that Deadlock, I don't know if he's announced, but they're also building some voting mechanism. A lot of different VPs are pushing having different platforms with different voting mechanism. And I think I've heard from Deadlock and Meet One that they're trying to also implement it with WeChat. So for the WeChat, the Chinese community, they're going to,
that is the coolest
maybe Deadlock, you can share your fame. How is that project going along there, Deadlock?
I'm sorry to say that, but the WeChat doesn't support the JS, the EOS JS, so we cannot do it that way. But we are building Meet One is building an app which can securely has the wallet and can do the voting. We are working on that side by side, and we are still building our voting portal and waiting for to see whether we can contribute to the community, the NSGEMS project, the official voting portal. But still, we already have a plan. We are doing it now and in the app version. So I guess should be ready before the release of the mainnet.
Perfect. I think we're all looking forward to have really good wallet support and voting mechanism, whether it be through the browser or application or anything, right? Desktop. I think all of those tools will be built by the community, and I think that will be the 30-day plan because that will be very critical. Another thing too is a lot of exchanges have actually shown up as a block producer. Having exchanges gives all the token holders, that's where the tokens are. There's a lot of tokens are on these exchanges. And if we have some of these BPs that are exchanges that offer these voting mechanisms, it would still keep the tokens in a secure place and a reliable place, but offer a easy solution for token voters to not have their tokens be removed from a safe place, and then enable EOS to be able to vote. So I think a lot of voting tools will come out, hopefully sooner than later.
I'm planning to vote command line as soon as I can get
command line. Me too. Me too.
Some tokens.
That's why we prepared a command line that you can create on the monitor and you can vote with command line, but prepare it for you.
Command line is the way to go, but I think a lot of token voters are it's like voodoo magic, right? They open the command line and they don't know what's going to happen.
That's not the commercial retail approach. I totally agree.
Yeah.
I'd like to point out. Oh, go ahead, Bluejays.
I was just going to say, even if it is a script that we can run for everybody.
I'd like to point out as well the voting portal that's in the works. We were just helping to spread the word. Actually, it's a wider community initiative. A lot of block producer candidates behind it, and it's going to help voters research the candidates as well. There'll be a lot to it. So NS James is on the project as well. It's a bunch of block producers and Caesar, I think, as well. So
Eric.
yeah, and Eric as well. And
Katie's, I think, leading the fundraising, and I will say here for the first time, I'm going to put $500 of my own money into that project.
Oh, very good. Thanks, Thomas.
Thank you, Thomas. That's
Match
great.
me if you dare, gentlemen and ladies.
Also, we want to announce that EOS Nation has also did a contribution today for the voting portal, and we're also looking forward to help and contribute in coding, in any sort of effort that we can do with NS James. I know that scatter will most likely be a strong component of that voting mechanism. EOS Nation also offers their support for the community engagement and the voting portal, and we're fully backing up this project of yours.
Let's go ahead and we'll jump into the last question too, for everybody, as we're running low on time here. Let's go to who you guys trust to work with on the launch. You know, this is a question we ask every time for the block producer panel, and as you guys have worked with each other now for many months, for a lot of you, we'd just sort of love to hear your top technically proficient and most secure block producer candidates that you feel most comfortable launching with.
Not counting yourself.
That too. And we'll just go ahead and go around. Yeah, go ahead and take it away.
I mean, I'll start. I mean, everybody on this call, obviously, I've seen them in a ton of test nets. They're all great. Crypto Lions, leader of Jungle Testnet, EOS Tribe. They led Arrowhead, and then Sweden, EOS Rio, who I've been working with very closely, and then EOS Cafe, Calgary, Dublin. I think there's a few more that I'm forgetting, but yeah, definitely a lot of great block producer candidates out there.
Okay, I will continue. So there are really a lot of amazing people which I met for the last few months, and I don't see everything what's happening, but I can say about a few people that are really good and working hard to make EOS better. And this Eric from Sweden, it's Igor from EOS Rio, Brazil. They have a very good team and work a lot. They work together with Eugen from EOS Tribe, from JHKS Korea, and they working on the good solution of secure mesh network. EOS 42, Charlie, that works on the DDoS solution. EOS Africa, Koshi, that works on the failover solution, yes, for a block producer. EOS Duck, Michael Yatz with fantastic ideas. EOS Canada, Alexander with BIOS Boots solution. EOS Asia with also with DDoS protection. EOS Cafe Sayed from Calgary. EOS Argentina that would also owns test network and create faucet. EOS SG that built voting portal, Dublin, and more. Basit, EOSVibes who helps working on Snapshot, and a lot of more people. I would like just to say that this amazing creating people, creating work environment that inspires all to do more. Yeah.
Yeah, so everybody on this call, obviously, it's been said, EOS Canada, obviously, EOS Tribe, Jesta and Roland from that are Steemit Witnesses have been crucial for some of the community testnet stuff, and as well as the BP infrastructure channels. EOS 42, EOS DAC, Marcin from EOS Green, EOSVibes, EOS Gravity. Yeah, like, I mean, obviously, you know, Crypto Lions are at the forefront. Blocksmith, Craig Murray has led a lot of good discussions and counter arguments to a lot of the things that we've all been saying. So I think there's a lot of, it's empowering to see this all happening and all kind of coming together in the last couple of months, you know, and everybody's just really showing up.
We will go with the EOS Canada. for the BIOS tool, and the next one is EOS Argentina for their smart contract unit testing platform. That is really cool. And obviously the crypto lines, and the one EOSVibes. Thanks.
Very good. Is that everybody?
Oh, well, for EOS Nation, we don't want to leave anyone out. We've been working with a lot of different VPs over the past month. We would actually just like to highlight the different type of criterias that we would find in a block producer. So those criteria could be integrity, professionalism, transparency, accountability. Block producers that have successfully launched or initiated community testnets. There's many testnets out there. You all know who you are. People who have also written technical articles. We found a lot of technical articles on Steemit that have helped VPs learn more through documentation and education. Also the community tools. A lot of people are building a lot of different community tools. Those are really important criteria for block producers. And the last would be exchanges, because again, when I mentioned the trust that people are putting their tokens in that exchange, it does have a credibility. And if they can offer easy solutions for voting mechanisms and the ERC token swaps, those would be a good player. So we would more point it to criterias, and those are our highlights for VP criterias.
Good deal. Yeah, thank you guys for coming on. And go ahead.
I'm so impressed in the recent months by a lot of teams. They have done a great job to make the community better. So I still remember when we first come to this community and released our first testnet, and Eric, Jungle, and Scholar testnet congratulated us immediately and give us some many helps and informations. A lot of thanks to them. And also the EOS Canada, the EOSVibes is a good project, and the EOS New York doing a great job in the governance. And besides that, there's a lot of people are doing great job, like BP infrastructure groups. They are doing a great job in the DDoS attack test and the stress test. And there's other teams are doing more focus on smart contracts. So there's a lot of names in my head, but I cannot remember I cannot state that every name. So there are many names, and I think a lot of people in the launch group has a valid criteria, as stated by Dennis. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Crypto Lions, I believe did you guys go?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone. Any last thoughts? Kevin and I were, very pleased to have you guys on, and it was a great conversation.
Yeah, I'd like to chime in and just say it's been wonderful hearing you guys go back and forth. And go ahead, Crypto Lions. I see you.
I just want to reiterate key ideas that I thought we had in this discussion. For me, there are two. More focus on validating. Launching is fun. Validating is arguably more important. And second idea is if the non-block producer parties, thank you for all the work you've been doing, if they might tune in more closely to the debate. There is a little bit of an impasse on how we launch. And the problem is that any of the proposed solutions will probably work fine. So it's the tyranny of choice that we're facing. Those are good problems to have.
We also heard about the communication tool. Is that something that it's a hot item, or are you guys good with that?
No, I think we need to figure it out, and we need to figure out how we're going to be able to talk as the elected BPs in the future, and what the correct communication channel is, and start getting used to that technology now if it's different from the ones we've been using.
Yeah, and in terms of Telegram, I don't think it's very safe to use Telegram, especially if it's a group, if it's a big group. It's not as secure as something like Keybase, which we've been testing.
Okay. I'm going to suggest that right after we're done here on this video, hop onto the Block Bros Telegram channel and let's drive some clarity around the decision for communication channel. We may not decide today, but I think we can decide how we're going to decide in the next, say, 30 minutes. Okay? Yes?
Perfect.
Nods? Yes? Thank you. Let's do that.
Okay, guys. It was amazing having you guys on. Thanks for
I
coming.
just want to, if I can add to the last say. So we've got actually Yves Larose, so EOS Nation is really proud to announce that Yves Larose, our co-founder and CEO, is actually doing a 3-week China and South Korea tour, visiting and joining the sort of China community and the South Korean community. I think later on after this episode, you'll be announcing all the meetups. So we've got a lot. EOS Nation is announcing a lot of meetups in the coming weeks. We're going to be doing some support for the Hack Till Dawn, the 28th of May. Even though it's been pushed, we're still going to be doing a dev event. And tomorrow we've actually got a meetup that Crypto Lions produced a video for us in Odessa in British Columbia. So we've got a lot of things coming up on our touring schedule, and hopefully you can follow us. And we'll be doing blogs and vlogs for the China community. And hopefully we'll be bridging bridges through these two communities. West meets East. And we've written a Steemit article about it. So looking forward to see everyone. And thank you for having us, Bluejays and Kevin.
Yeah, thank you guys. And for those of you who are really late right now, hopefully you can get some sleep. And thank you guys for coming on and making the most of this. Appreciate it. So we'll go ahead and sign off. Have a good night, guys.
Cheers, guys.
All right, cheers. Thank you.
So Bluejays, that was a great panel. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
We'll jump over to do some news here. We'll cover the news. What did you see this week that interested you? I know we have a few topics to talk about. I think the first one I'm seeing is that so Block One, they've dedicated $3 million over to Virginia Tech to help build a curriculum for blockchain. And so they have there's a certain guy that lives in Blacksburg, and he knows a lot about blockchain. You know, he's a bit kind of a visionary, as they called him. And he went to Virginia Tech a while back. His name is Dan. Dan. So yeah, they were giving a bunch of money to help launch that program in Virginia Tech, so that hopefully down the line, blockchain, maybe Block One will help, be able to hire some exceptional students out of Virginia Tech and give them jobs right out of college. And yeah, it looks like a great initiative to me. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts, Kevin. Good story here. It's like one of those things where we just need to educate people. So obviously we see the need for education in an awesome facility like Virginia Tech, very well known for their tech programs. So that's definitely going to be a boon to their students over there, and any others who would want to come and actually go to a college or a university that's specializing in blockchain. So that's just amazing. That's really good. What else do you got there, Kev, for news?
We're looking at, of course, the latest block producer report came out this past week. The report itself has about 150 candidates now after the update. And then the block producer portal, which is a research site, bp.eosgo.io, it's about 160 total candidates on there. Some of the candidates, they have not done all the requirements for the actual checklist, but they put their name on the block producer research site. So we are getting up there. It looks like we may even surpass my 175 guests that I had a couple weeks ago. What are your thoughts there, Bluejays, about the block producers all lining up?
Yeah, it seems like we got 40 this past week, and that was just crazy, the amount that are coming out. I wonder how much is going to be next week. Obviously, at this point in time, everyone is focusing on the launch, so these latecomers, per se, would have to get up to speed quite fast if they're planning or intending to be major players or launch players anyways. So not to divert from the course that we have now, but as you can see, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty type of stuff before we launch. So
yeah, that's about right. And even things like the conversation tools used to help launch the chain, you heard about that just recently in that block producer panel. These are the important questions, and of course we communicating back and forth will be important. Telegram, as we well know, and we've actually seen recent articles about how insecure it actually is, and all the different bugs and malware that can be downloaded through Telegram. it's a bit of a mess. So yeah, I think hopefully they can figure that out.
And Kev, one thing I wanted to say was that from the outsider point of view, seeing all of these issues this late before our supposed launch, it's expected. I mean, there's not one company launching this chain. There's a community launching this chain, and it's unheard of. So to have all of these issues very late in the game, while it might look that way to people who are on the outside, is just natural progression of things, in my opinion.
Very well said. You know what? And actually, the fact that we've come this far as a worldwide distributed community through all the different language barriers and time zones and everything else, the fact that we're discussing Keybase at this point, we have a lot of the other parts of the security nailed down, and of course, you heard about they have multiple ways to help launch the chain, all built out. Everybody's been communicating really well to this point. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's amazing. All these strangers coming together, all these different companies that have formed around this opportunity. So I would say in terms of what the final problems that we have to deal with, very minimal, right? Seems like it.
Yeah, and it seems like we have Yves LaRose agreeing with us. It's simply amazing and normal. So there you go.
There you go. Normal. And let's jump over to Vitalik Buterin. He's a name that we know about in blockchain. He helped with a DPoS question in the EOS.io GitHub. He made a comment last week, and it was about a week ago now. And he helped sort of bring up a small issue that Dan and team then evaluated and actually implemented. And then Dan wrote a blog post thanking Vitalik for his contribution. So what did you take away from that, Bluejays?
Yeah, I mean, from a coding point of view, I believe it was a minor corner case issue. But from a collaboration point of view, it was amazing to see Vitalik come and selflessly sort of help out with the project, and I guess obviously it's on his radar, so that's a good thing. And I hope he wishes us well, and we do too for his projects.
Yeah, and the way he referenced his Plasma white paper a couple times during the back and forth on the GitHub comments. And so he had some familiarity with the issue that he was raising. And I guess he sort of helped with that. Now, I don't think we should read too much into it in terms of, he's following the EOS.io GitHub, this and that. It's all open source software. And I'm sure once in a while, Dan and everybody else checks in with what Ethereum is doing, right? It's good to keep an eye on your competition, right? And that's technically what it is. It's a competition, I guess you could say, in some ways. But, it's also learning from each other. It's collaboration on top of competition. And that's what open source, that's why we've made so many advancements in software. And that's why blockchain is where it is today. It's because everybody's working together to some degree while also competing. So I think it's wonderful, and I don't think we should just assume that Vitalik is going to be living in Blacksburg very soon, necessarily. But he and Dan can race their Teslas together.
Right.
That'd be a beautiful moment.
I don't know if Vitalik's a Tesla guy. Is he old enough to drive? Oh, kidding.
Wow. Oh boy. You think he has a Vespa?
Vespa. I said Tesla. Oh, okay. It's two different things, man. Imagine you got that confused. Went to the dealership. I want the most expensive Vespa.
If you get like an electric engine and a little Vespa, man, you could really soar. Let me tell you, you wouldn't be able to stay on that thing. It would just take off without you.
Got a 2-inch screen on my Vespa.
2-inch screen. So let's see. Wow, Vespas and blockchain. Here we are. Yeah. Let's go over to Meetups. You ready? The Tulip conference. We just, of course, talked to G about it. It's coming up in June 6th and 7th. This right after launch. Hopefully, it'll be a celebration. It looks like it may be part celebration and part still waiting for the vote to happen. Of course, we have no clue. But what are your thoughts there, Bluejays? We're both going.
Yeah, we're both going, and as much as I want it to be a party, I don't know. Things are going to be quite in the fire at that point. So it would be a definitely interesting time. We've heard that some people are going to have war rooms there and stuff, so it's going to be very interesting. An EOS-centered sort of community get together, I guess you could say. So if you guys are thinking about going, definitely come out and look us up while you're there.
Yeah, and of course you'll meet a whole lot of block producer candidates. You've heard from a few. There's EOS Nation and EOS New York and EOS Tribe, EOS 42. I mean, I could list them off for a long time, I'm sure. But if you have any particular block producer candidate you'd love to meet in person, or even NS James is going from Scatter, or if you'd happen to want to meet us, we'll say hi. I think we're pretty friendly, right, Bluejays? We cool?
Yeah. I just, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we're ice cold. That's us.
Yeah. Don't talk to me. Talk to the hand.
Talk to the hand. I'm on a EOS radio show. It gets 70 viewers at once. Talk to the hand. Anyway, too big for our britches around here. Let's jump over. Let's see. So yeah, if you want to look up the rest of the meetups available, I mean, we're getting down to the wire. So I guess launch party stuff should start coming out from folks who are holding one. Of course, a lot of block producer candidates who normally hold the meetups, they'll be so busy trying to launch the chain that they may not necessarily have a lot of launch parties going on.
Yeah.
Of course, we're going to announce more about ours tomorrow. You'll hear about the EOS Go launch party and what that will look like. And as we briefly mentioned, it's going to be an international kind of just everybody can come check in with us, and we see what's happening with them from around the world. And we're going to have all 7 continents represented, including Antarctica, I hope.
Oh, yeah.
Still waiting for that first block producer candidate from Antarctica. But anyway, so maybe 6 continents. What do you think? Is Antarctica a continent? Maybe I'm getting confused here.
I think it might be. So we don't have all the continents covered. We just got, the non-frozen ones.
Well said. Yeah. So just the land masses. But anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and do our final thoughts of the week there, Bluejays. We'll wrap this up. What are your thoughts of the week?
Yeah, getting down to the wire. I love that Thomas just, hey, let's go deal with this stuff right now. Head over to the Block Pros and get the decide how we decide on what we need to do. At least you can do that. So and I loved how the Crypto Lions crew pointed out a few of the good pragmatic things that need to be done. For example, validation. So those are good points to bring up, and obviously security. That was on the mind of HK EOS. Definitely some things to worry about, and definitely to lock it down as in this late stage. So looking forward to it. Looking forward to the big weeks coming up.
Yeah, well said. I think it's mostly it's going to be relaxing in some ways after the launch. Eric a few weeks back talked about that when he was on. He said it's kind of like an event horizon day to him, right? Oh, launch is coming up, and I cannot see beyond what happens after launch, right? And I think it'll be somewhat relaxing, even as we all sit back and wait for the vote to come in for the 15% to actually validate the chain. And well, actually, it won't be relaxing for some people. They'll be scrambling for their security. They'll be getting attacked. It'll be a bit of a mess for them. But I was just speaking for myself. Never mind, guys. I'm sorry. You guys are stressed.
Unprecedented, man. This has never been. Has it been done before? Do you know? I mean, I don't know of any other case like this. So. Yeah,
I don't think there's any other blockchain project that's had a community launch. I don't think so. It's always whoever creates the software just starts booting up the blockchain as well, and then they collect the first however many tokens.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of them did that, but anyway. So I think this is the first time that a bunch of random strangers just got together and said, let's do this. Let's make it happen.
Yep, so. Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
And hopefully at the end of the day, we'll all ride off into the sunset on our Vespas or Teslas. Depends how well you do, I guess. But
right. Or maybe a Vespa attached to the back of your Tesla. Now you're talking. Like Vitalik, look at me now. How do you like that? All right. Well, we're going to call it a night, guys. Thank you for checking in. Next week's show is going to be a monster. It's a marathon show. We're offering any block producer candidate who has not been able to interview thus far on the show is able to get on next week for a full interview. So it's going to be a long. We'll be at it for a while. I think we have eight block producer candidates already signed up for interviews, and it's going to be exciting. We have a whole worldwide, distributions. Yeah, Puerto Rico and all over the place. Folks that we have not really even heard much from yet. So we're all going to be learning a lot from these candidates as we meet them. India as well. I think there's one from India. So.
Yeah, and I guess you already mentioned our launch week announcement. So we're going to be reaching out and telling everybody about our schedule coming up for the launch week.
Right, and it'll be an extensive schedule for the whole week. We'll be on a lot for you guys to hang out with us and check in with everybody from around the world and stuff. So it should be good. So more details tomorrow. And last words, Bluejay, anywhere people should keep up with us?
The forums, our Twitter, the community updates channel. Yeah, check us out and go EOS.
Yeah, go EOS. Thanks, guys.
Good night, everyone. Bye.